in Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5 The Fanatic.
Good morning. Thought I'd help you wake up.
It's 6 a.m. and you're listening to The John Kincade Show, Philadelphia's longest-running sports talk morning show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Let the party begin!
The show starts now.
John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Appreciate you being a part of the show. Getting in early with us this morning, 660th edition. That means the Devil's Edition comes up next week. Next Wednesday. He's 666.
There's been many devil editions of this show.
The sign of the beast comes up next week. Pat, a year ago, I believe you were chronicling the life of, I believe you called him Carlos in the stairway. In the staircase?
Yeah, the cockroach, R.I.P.
Let me just tell you, Carlos's brother is here for revenge. He's here for revenge.
He's back. Like
I made
his family member.
I made the walk up to the next level. I had to go visit a room up there. And Carlos's brother, I think Hector, is out for revenge. And he's alive, and he's in that stairwell, and he's big. He's twice the size of Carlos.
So
and
he's
alive.
Brothers
And he's
are usually
alive.
bigger, yeah.
He's alive. He's out for revenge. Whoever stepped on Carlos or killed him, better watch out because there is a twice the size cockroach.
Well, I've heard Hector's done some time, and
he was in prison while this happened.
he was working out. He got the letter about his brother's demise, and
And he said
suddenly he started good behavior.
He said it happened
get out
here.
early.
It happened here at the Fanatic. I think he's blaming us. It could have been someone from the country station.
So it was a cockroach in the.
Yeah, there's a big one.
How do you know it wasn't? If it's a cockroach, how do you know it wasn't a Cowboys fan coming to pick up a prize?
That could very well be.
There you go. There's my creative dad
He didn't
joke.
have his driver's
Horrible.
license out. Hey, this morning, 6 a.m. hour brought to you by our friends at Bradford White Water Heaters. Bradford White here for the pro. Connor, show your shirt. Your mom got this for you. Now, let the audience see it. I think that is very cool. And it's got 3 different Phillies logos from 3 different eras. Where did she get that?
I imagine she probably went online and got it on like the MLB.com store or something.
So why was your mom doing that for you? Just to be
she's
kind?
sick and tired of looking at that other rag shirt that he wears after Phillies.
Oh.
It's a victory shirt. Calm down. I'll have you hold
There
your
was a
tongue
dude-
on that matter.
Real quick, there was a dude on the Phillies game the other night that they went to in the stands.
And he had
the same
your
exact-
shirt.
I saw that. Yeah. Immediately I thought of Connor when I saw it.
See, that's why you wear it. You got to take over the look. But she got me the shirt. I feel bad. The Twins are in town. My mom and brother are both big Twins fans.
Next week.
This weekend.
This weekend.
And she's like, let's get tickets. Let's get close tickets. I was like, okay, perfect. And I'm in a wedding this weekend, and I can't go.
And you can't be there.
So she had already ordered the shirt, so I'd have this to wear, and she got her.
What a kind
and,
woman she is.
Yeah, my brother twin shirts, and now I can't make it, unfortunately. But
Now
yeah,
hers
she's
is,
the best.
They're going to wear twin stuff.
Of course.
Okay. Your mom's a kind lady.
She's
That's
the
very
best.
sweet. That
Love
is
her.
really, really sweet. That's nice.
Now, I'll say, she's never brought in baked goods for the show, so I don't know where she's at in the mom power rankings. I think T-Dog might still be up there, but she's the best.
You know, Bob and I don't have anybody in the rankings.
She hasn't brought in baked
Our
goods
moms
in a
have went
while.
on. So, T-Dog is sort of
Yeah, my mom wasn't a baker.
slacked out. Your mom wasn't a baker?
Nah, she'd make like brownies every once in a while or something, but nah.
Betty taught you her secret brownie recipe when you were a little older.
Pot.
Her she would have probably in today's day and age she may have experimented with it, but the lining of the pan with butter on the sides and then rubbing a little bit of oil on it, and every time the brownies cook, they end up breaking away from the side of the pan, so you get nice crispy sides. Really good. Betty, rest in peace. She's probably listening over there at St. Peter and Paul.
Gotta be.
Across from O'Hara.
I hear they turn it on.
I think they turn it on for them so they can do that. As we get rolling this morning, the Phillies didn't open a 4-game series last night, and Jamie Lynch got screwed. Jamie thought he was going to go back today and enjoy row 3 of the VIP club all the food, all the drink and everything. And he leaves the stadium and he tweets, well, my wife's really going to dig the fact that I'm coming back again tomorrow. And I'm like, I immediately text him. I'm like, you're not coming back tomorrow. That ticket's not valid. Man, Jamie was not happy, Bobby, that he's not going back.
I can understand why, but he'll be going back sometime soon, I guess.
He has those connections.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah, it's Jamie Lynch.
The Rothschilds.
Jamie reminds me of John Spanos. So for those that don't know, John Spanos was a guy that tried to buy the Islanders in the 90s, and he had no money. And he got really close to buying the Islanders.
How?
He basically, there's a really great 30 for 30 on it called Big Shot. And basically he would go around in groups of rich people, and they just assumed that the guy was also rich. And he convinced banks to lend him money based on fake bank statements from like the Cayman Islands saying, oh, no, this guy's got it. He's good for it. They would give him a line of credit to go put a down payment on, say a hockey team.
Okay,
and then,
like a hockey team.
And then he basically just tried to rob Peter to pay Paul until he owned the actual hockey team, and he eventually got caught with it. But he didn't actually have any money. He just ran in those rich circles, and that is Jamie.
We had a guy who tried to do that when the Thrashers were up for sale, tried to do the same thing. He tried to be the guy to get all the people together with the money, but he had no money himself.
It happens.
He was just going to be the guy that gets it all together. You could do that, Pat.
Yeah, probably.
I think you could be somebody like that.
Yeah, I just don't like jail.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want that one. You wouldn't want to end up.
I don't think I'd fare too well.
All right, I want to ask you something. Do you believe the Phillies have? Where do you think the Phillies pitching ranks? As far as like, if you're looking at the Phillies starting pitching, where do you think the Phillies starting pitching ranks in Major League Baseball? Like if you were to talk about them, when you think about them, and Connor, you do the Locked On Phillies podcast, so I wanted you in on this. Starting pitching, like when you think of the Phillies starting pitching, where do you place them?
I mean, I'd be looking top 10 conservatively, top maybe like 5 or 6 if I'm being a little bit more of a homer.
5 or 6 in the. Are you? What about National League? Do you put them in? Like, where would you put them in National League?
Top 3, maybe 4.
I saw Justin Verlander's brother, and I was quizzing you earlier because I didn't even know Ben Verlander much. Ben Verlander thinks that the Phillies have the best starting pitching in the National League. And I'm telling you, when I went and looked I thought he was nuts. And then I looked at the numbers. He's not nuts. And I have to apologize to Rob Thompson for something. He lets his starting pitchers throw 100 to 119 pitches. Now, how many? I call him Captain Hook. How many times? Like if you were thinking rankings, all the National League teams, Bob. Where do you think the Phillies rank in pitchers throwing 100 to 119 starting pitchers getting to throw between 100 and 119 pitches?
7th.
I call him Captain Hook
In the National League?
in the National League.
Yeah, they're probably top 3 or 4, right where I would have them
Patty,
ranked.
I'll go with 6th.
what if I told you first?
Oh.
They're number 1. Only the Padres. They have 34 times Rob Thompson has let a pitcher throw 100 to 119 pitches. The Padres are second at 33. Phillies have 34 starts where that's happened. Then it drops to the Mets in third at 28. The Braves in fourth at 27. The Phillies are 34.
The top 3 there's a common denominator.
Phillies, Padres, Mets?
Yeah.
What's that?
Experience.
Yeah.
Every one of those staff is chock full of guys that have been in the majors for quite some time. Were on second, third contracts, veterans that you kind of trust.
Well, not all of them. One used to be. And I think they might have sold at the deadline.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it the Phillies? They didn't sell.
No, I don't think so.
Well, it wasn't. The Padres didn't sell.
They're kind of rough, but not as bad as the other teams.
It can't be the Mets because they had a $450 million payroll. There's no way that team sells.
They
not the two top
practiced
guys.
their World Series celebration.
Was it this year or was it a?
Doesn't matter.
I can't remember. It is the
It's going
Mets.
to be a bad juju
the Mets
forever.
sold?
Yeah, they sold.
No way.
The Phillies have a quality start 44% of the time. That's third in the National League. For in the whole league, which is nice. They are. It's like all these different statistics. They're really like they're towards the top in almost every single statistic.
Yeah.
I would, and I'm I mean, I'm blown away because I look at it and say, man, because there's another stat, and I was talking to Bob. They lead the division in games won when trailing. And I'm like, well, the Braves just don't trail a lot.
Yeah, that's fair.
They don't trail a lot, but so the Phillies have been really resilient, but the starting pitching has not been it's not been that bad, but to me it seems much worse.
Yeah, we had this conversation last week and maybe a little bit yesterday when days run together, but I'm apparently, like Ben Verlander, much better at putting together the statistical argument that resonates with you a little bit more. I'm much more of a vibes guy. Like, I'm not going to come at you with...
I can't go with vibes.
Exactly, but you get a feel for a team as to whether or not they have a talented pitching staff, and I think the Phillies have been really, really good with their starting pitching for long stretches of this season. I've felt that way. I haven't really dove into the numbers like that, but it makes sense to me. You've got stalwart veteran guys that eat up innings that even when they struggle have battled through a lot of times this year. And even though Aaron Nola struggles, he's an innings eater, always will be. It's just they have a very solid pitching staff.
When the starter gets the decision, the Phillies have a .545 winning percentage. The Braves have a .636, but and they have a lot of kids. The Braves have a lot of kids pitching. But, I mean, it really does look good for heading to the postseason, Bob.
And it just got better. I mean, they just improved their pitching staff during the trade deadline.
Absolutely they did.
And, you have that 6-starter thing, something like a rainout last night and a doubleheader today. It's not going to hurt you in 4 or 5 days because you have 6 legitimate starters.
It doesn't affect you as much.
Yeah.
It's just it's one of those things where perception's not reality. And I just had to do that because I've called Rob Thompson Captain Hook when, in fact, he's the least likely. He's the guy he's the most likely manager in the National League to let a guy keep throwing.
Well, maybe you might look at him like Captain Hook
weapons.
because his guys don't get through 5 innings. It's one thing.
They go fourth long. By the way, they go fourth. Starters go fourth longest.
That's very deceiving.
It's shocking.
I mean, my God, it's like Aaron Nola struggles to get through 6 every single damn game.
But he does.
What if I told you?
No, but he didn't
you're right.
though. He didn't though. He got through 5 1/3.
I don't know.
It's
Remember
ridiculous.
he had
the guy's a 5.
What do you have? 18 straight? What was it? 13 straight starts, or you won 6 or more?
Something to start the year. Yeah, we're 6 plus.
What if I told you there isn't a team in the National League right now that has a average of 6 innings either?
That's the thing, right? I think we're still fighting the perception of what starting pitching has become in baseball, and because we're so zoned in on the Phillies, we're like, oh, well, these guys aren't going deep enough into games, when in reality, no one's going deep into games anymore, and the Phillies are on the top end of that.
Hey, coming up, brought to you by 3 Ice 3-on-3 Pro Hockey. It is the championship game at the Wells Fargo Center this Saturday. Jack Egan will be there with his grandma. $10 gets you in, 3ice.com. Pat, you wish you were going, but you will not be going because you will be with Jamie.
It looks like a lot of fun. Yeah, it's a
lot of scoring.
I love 3-on-3 overtime hockey, so because there's that scoring factor.
Yeah, I like that.
A lot of ice, so yeah, it looks like a really good time.
So the Phillies play a doubleheader today, 4 o'clock, and then the second game will be after it, and Jamie will not be boozing and eating on like a Lynch, living like a Lynch.
My heart bleeds for him.
Jamie's plight to go to a Phillies game for like an affordable price with no traffic, with it's like a crusade for him. This is a years long where every time he goes to a Phillies game, something goes wrong for
It's
him.
an HBO docuseries in the making because you're right. Every time it's, the tweet goes out of like, should I even bother going? And then they eventually cancel the game, and he's usually like
halfway there,
having just paid for the parking, and then it's
because he's
back.
out for the parking.
If
he parked, he's out.
The problem with Jamie is that he always gets this free bougie experience in August when it tends to rain. Probably it's like April and August. I feel like rains the most. He never gets his bougie experience in July and when it's pretty dry.
Jamie also uses the family of 4 really struggles to get to a game as he's sitting there in the third row going, yes, I'll have an orange whip and 3 orange whips.
In fairness, his family of 4
IPA.
His family of 4 has really been struggling to get to games.
I mean, seriously.
His personal experience.
They can get to games, but
they just can't see the game.
They're going to drive their golf cart to the game.
What?
Yeah. Jamie's big thing now is he wants a golf cart.
Yeah, that's a great thing. Golf carts are great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wants
they're
a golf
great.
cart.
I don't think it's street legal, though.
I've been in his neighborhood. There's
so have I. But his cousin lives 9 doors down, so he does need one, Pat.
Depends. Do you live on private streets or public streets?
To the golf course.
I think Jamie's street is
He's public. He's a public street.
Yeah.
Because if you live on private street, they can be all over the place. You can use them all anytime you want.
Yeah, most of us
Which
are
is
public
nice.
streeters.
Public streeters, as far as you do that. Bradford White Water Heaters are here for the pro. They bring in the 6 o'clock hour. And also, Pat has a brain teaser for us, the morning mind bender, if you will.
I do.
Okay.
So in 2005, there was a $20 million art collection up for auction. There was 2 big art houses, Christie's and Sotheby's, up for the rights to auction this item off. How did they decide? How did the owner of the art collection decide which auction house got the $20 million art collection?
I'll go outlandish and say they flipped a coin.
They played one-on-one basketball up to 11.
That's stupid.
Well, no, Bob would have done
Bob,
that.
if you're not going to take it seriously, just don't even
If
bother.
Bob's working for Sotheby's, that's what he'd say.
They went the Nick Sirianni route. Rock, paper, scissors.
Wow,
Oh,
and you
that's
know
a
what?
good
Pat
one.
may have gone with that, knowing Nick Sirianni. Patrick?
Well, one of you guys got it right, and it certainly isn't Bob, because that was horrible, Bob.
Damn it.
Connor, they played rock, paper, scissors.
That's
In 2005,
amazing.
Both Sotheby's and Christie's were eager to sell Takashi Hashiyama's $20 million art collection. It included Picasso, Van Gogh, and Cezanne. But when Hayama couldn't choose between the auction houses, he let a game of rock, paper, scissors make the decision for him.
Did they do
my
2
God.
out of
Who-
3?
Do you know who won?
Okay. We're given a few days to select their weapon of choice. So they actually gave them a couple days to decide what are we throwing out there, rock, paper, or scissor. And while Sotheby's employee admitted to the New York Times that they didn't really give it much thought and had no strategy in mind, the team at Christie's researched the psychology behind the hit or miss game and talked to an 11-year-old twin experts. The twins offered information. Christie's went with scissors and won.
Okay, I don't.
See, I'm a rocksman. If I had to pick one before you
I'd
even
pick
told me,
rock,
I'm a
too.
rocksman.
I would go rock too, I would think.
Yeah, paper feels risky to me.
Well, it
I don't
feels
know.
too light.
paper covers
rock
true.
seems like you're like going in for a fight and you're winning.
Yeah, paper feels like
Paper
susceptible
what?
to losing.
Paper covers rock.
Rock, break scissors.
Breaks scissors.
And scissors cuts paper.
Scissors cuts paper.
Me and my friends in high school used to play bear, poacher, ranger.
What?
Yeah.
What?
It's like rock, paper, scissors. So the bear eats the ranger catches the poacher kills the bear. So we do bear, poacher,
What were
ranger.
What were the hand signals of that?
So you got bear, poacher, ranger.
Wait, I can't
Wait.
see Ranger.
A ranger's like you got like your hands on your hips and you're kind of just surveying.
Really, you're sort of like
you're surving. So you go
hands on the
ranger.
hips, eh?
Wouldn't have bragged
The bear's
about that
like
if
the
I was
big
you.
bear claws. And what's the poacher?
And then
gun?
poacher's like you're sitting there with a gun and you're waiting to kill the bear.
By the way,
Creative.
Bob, you're a Disney's-man. Pat, you've been before, right?
I love it. Yeah.
They took the, they changed the, I'm sorry here with the chemo brain. The ride in Animal Kingdom where you go to the safari.
Yeah.
They took the poachers out of it. You know how you're like part of the thing was you were there trying to
These
stop
damn
the poachers. They say,
never
yeah,
went
remember
to-
that?
Never went to Animal Kingdom.
Oh,
What?
Pat,
oh, it's awesome. You
Pat,
love it.
oh my gosh, you'd love it.
The Tree of Life?
I think
dope.
that the ride when you go through the safari is about as good as it gets.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
But the animatronics were becoming endangered,
no.
so they had to get rid of the poachers.
Pat, they
I'm okay.
literally, like the giraffe will come to the right to the car.
Oh, I'm okay.
Are you afraid of it?
I'm good. No, it's just like I've seen Jurassic Park.
Oh, you're thinking that?
You know, this whole like the idea of like let's get close to the animals. I'm okay. They're over there. I'm over here. I'm doing my thing. They're doing their thing.
They've changed it now to a ride. It's about a ride of sustainability.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
There's no more poachers. There's no more poachers. You don't get the excitement of the ride where you got to trace the poachers.
That's good. We should always
changed
aim
it.
for a better world.
Yes, aim it. They get rid of those poachers. Kill them all. They arrested the poachers. It was a good thing that they got rid of the poachers.
Yeah, you don't have to kill them.
They don't think they
arrest
killed them.
them.
All of those poachers were getting arrested. That eventually the poachers were like, it ain't worth it.
It ain't worth
Yeah,
it.
so
there's
We're
no
not coming
poachers
to
to
this.
get to
As
do
punishment, they had to ride It's a Small World after all for like 30 straight days.
That's horrible.
All right, Nick Sirianni spoke on his linebacker situation, but I think I'm more concerned than I was yesterday. John Kincade Show here on 9.
97.5 The Fanatic on Odyssey on your smartphone, Roku, LG Smart TV, Waze, and more. That's Odyssey, AUDACY. Check it out now. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
I told you about the roach of the staircase. But, Pat, do you realize that ticks are in season? And many carry diseases. Now, the ticks are going to be outside. They can be in fields, fairways, picnics, parks, backyards, baseball fields. When you're walking, J-roll.
Don't do any of that.
Well, protect, check, and remove. Learn more at health.pa.gov/ticks. Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Lyme disease sucks.
Oh, my gosh. And it goes on for what, like 4 or 5 weeks?
Yeah, it was.
If you're
bad.
undiagnosed, right?
Yeah, I went undiagnosed for a long time, was really sick. Finally got diagnosed, and then, it was. I think I had to wear a thing in my arm for a month.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and give myself injections twice a day.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was a pain in the ass.
I can imagine. The ticks. One of our listeners the other day said that his father would bring them out to the car.
Ticks?
No, he would take them out of the car, bring them out, pick the ticks off them, that they would go hiking and camping, and then he would take his car lighter back in the day,
and
burn them up.
Yeah.
I'm like, that sounds a little creepy. I was going to see if your son was going to go out to the big soccer match in Charlotte on Friday night. Charlotte wins on an own goal last night by Houston. In extra time, the Houston defender kicks it back to his goaltender, and Pat, much like the little kids at playing t-ball, the goaltender wasn't paying attention, and the goal goes in. And it goes in. His defender kicks it back to him, and then he's like, wait a minute. And he falls all over himself trying to get back, and then he falls down, the goal goes in. But Messi's coming to Charlotte. Good chance for...
Yeah, I texted him.
Kyle
see
can
if
get
he's
out.
He's been to a couple of those games, a couple of their soccer games down there, and really liked it. So I imagine that city's a little bit on fire right now with Messi coming in.
Is there any chance? I wonder with the bracket, is there a chance that I got to look at it? If only there was a machine, we could do it. I wonder if Messi could come here.
Yeah, there was something yesterday talking about if this happens and that happens and whatever. I believe if the Union win, they host
never leave,
the winner,
right? They never leave.
So there is a chance that he comes here, I believe, from what I heard yesterday.
That'd be great because he is Messi seems pretty good at soccer, Pat. That's my analysis.
My professional analysis is just, yes, you are correct. He is good at soccer.
It seems like man versus boys, though. And he's 34 years old.
Yeah, he's pretty good at that soccer thing.
He's pretty good. So Nick Sirianni spoke about the veteran linebacker signings. And as he pointed out, there's nothing they have no issue with feeling confident about Nicobe Dean. He says, I feel really good about Nicobe Dean. When he was out here, he's doing a nice job running the defense, being in a position to make plays. He had really big splash plays, knocking balls out. He has been just as good in coverage and around the football, and most importantly, knowing what to do. We're really pleased with Nicobe. But Nicobe got nicked up, and I wonder with a smaller guy if that's part of it. But Christian Ellis outplaying Nicholas Morrow seems to be sort of the storyline. But here's where I'm more concerned after hearing the praise from Nick Sirianni, because evaluation of youngsters, and Bob, I'm sure you saw it in your columnist days, in your beat writer days, the evaluation of youngsters before we actually see them with the live bullets flying is many times hit or miss. And it seems as if it's all eggs in one basket, that Jack is not here to be... If it's going to be Jack next to him, it's not going to be him calling the shots, that Nicobe Dean's the guy. I'm like, they're putting all their eggs in the Nicobe Dean basket. I'm one of his biggest fans, and it makes me too nervous. Like that they didn't, even with what they did the other day, it seems as if, no, we're incredibly pleased. He's doing great and everything. But I've seen many a times where a young guy looks like they're tearing it up, and they miscalculate. What they're ready to do.
Well, I think the big question is, where are they seeing him tearing it up, as you put it? He didn't get on the field last year. Okay, limited plays.
3 practices they got to see him in.
Yeah,
before he tweets
3
his ankle.
practices.
It just sounds
he's tearing it up.
It sounds too glowing to me.
It does, no question about it. Maybe he wows them with his brain and the way he's able to apprehend the type of defensive schemes that Desai's putting in there. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's checked all the boxes of off-season things. Maybe he came in terrific shape. All of that. But to say that he's killing it on the field or something, that's just not true.
It made me more nervous because it seems like an oversell. It almost seems like you're trying to convince yourself when it's like that. Like you're trying to tell me because you're not confident yourself that it's that good.
Yeah,
because
maybe.
It seems like a glowing report that he hasn't earned yet. But maybe they're seeing it it's obvious. They could see it in the classroom. Because the man called the defense for 3 years for one of the top programs in college football that was highly successful. So I could buy that. He's really smart. He's an college engineering major. He's really smart. And he got his degree early. Okay, he's smart. But whether that translates to, I don't know. It seemed like too glowing a review to me. And I'm one of his biggest fans. And it made me anxious.
Yeah, maybe in the OTAs when they're running plays and you have middle linebackers that are calling different schemes and calling out different plays and where you want to be. Maybe he was spot on that. And maybe, we've all watched a lot of college and pro practices, and the communication that a middle linebacker has to have with the rest of the team in getting them where they're supposed to be against certain offensive alignments. Maybe he absolutely killed that in OTAs. Okay, great. You're talking about shorts. You're talking about no pads. You're talking about limited movement, all of that stuff. That's good. I'm not going to take that away from him if that was the case. But to kind of allude to he's killing it
he's
or whatever.
He's killing it. He's everything that we want.
That really can't be true just yet, simply because you don't have enough sample size.
Pat makes me anxious, and again, a big fan, and I'm anxious.
Not anxious at all.
So
not anxious at all.
Okay.
I am in full belief with this coaching staff. If they tell me that the sun is going to shine and I step outside of my house and I see a monsoon like I did last night, I'm confident the sun will shine. I have to have the utmost confidence in this coaching staff because they've done nothing to make me think otherwise. Now, there have been plenty of moments throughout the Nick Sirianni era where it has been this. You just question it. You scratch your head and you go like, that just can't, doesn't seem like that's the case. It can't be. And then the game gets played and you go, oh, wow. He wasn't just blowing smoke. He was actually right. I do think that there is something to what you guys are saying. You have a player's coach. It would make sense that he would talk up his guys.
Oversell it a little bit. Right.
Oversell them, exactly. Try to make them feel good, especially a young player. I thought that was going to be the case last year with Marcus Epps. Thought that's exactly what he was doing, and then the games got played. I thought that was going to be the case with, T.J. Edwards, and the games got played. So in this situation, I'm trying to remind myself that I've been wrong in the past with jumping to that conclusion. So I'm gonna believe him. He's killing it.
And you deserved. They honestly have earned the benefit of the doubt. But the thing is, with if the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator are talking, they haven't earned it yet. I got to see it. But Nick Sirianni has. He has. He's earned the benefit of the doubt. It just makes me anxious. I'm like, okay. I think I'm looking for something to be anxious about because everything is just good news. I
think that's a big part of it. Like we talked after our post show yesterday about Eagles conversation. I think you said it like there's not a lot, which is a great thing. I mean, if we're
it is a great thing.
Team,
right?
It's a great thing. There's no drama. There's no big time position battles that we're looking at and whatnot. So you might subconsciously, because we're unfamiliar with this feeling, be looking for the gotcha moment.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
No, you go.
I gotta say, I totally disagree.
Well, you know what? Then we disagree with you.
Yeah, exactly. This is a position. Look at the position. Forget about how good the team is, how bad the team, whatever it is. Just take the linebacker position. Okay, who's your starter? A second-year guy, third-round pick, who's never started before. Who's your other starter? Kind of a, vagabond, a guy that, you can plug and play.
A journeyman.
Middle of the road type of guy. Who are your backups? Well, you just signed 2 veteran guys that were on the scrap heap that you say, all right, let's just bring in and we'll see what's what. I mean, if you don't have concern over that, I don't care what the rest of your team is. You're just not being honest with yourself. I don't think you're looking for anything, John. I think it's real.
I agree with Bob. I mean, obviously, Bob's the same thing. No, but I mean, but I mean, as far as I think if you're not concerned, you're like that's a big reason for concern.
So, I think one of the reasons why I'm so laissez-faire with this whole situation.
Look at you.
Yeah, with using
high school French,
using the big words here. Is because I think that even if they do have a hole, even if game one happens and this dude turns into, Casey Matthews, we spent all offseason hyping him up and he just can't play. I have the utmost confidence that Howie Roseman will go out and address it. Now, he's already addressed the depth position with getting, Cunningham and Jack, but I'm talking like he'll go out and he'll make a trade. He'll go out and he'll shore it up. I don't think that he'll sit there on his hands.
No, I got you.
With the window being so open that it is, and them being so close, I don't think that if this linebacking core really is a detriment to the team's success, that he's just going to let it happen. So that's part of the reason why I'm just like, everything's good, nothing to see here, because I've seen this guy go out and shore up position groups in the middle of the season. So even if they suck, Bobby, it'll be all right.
Because they will address it. They don't have a ton of. Well, they've already addressed it. I don't know how far you could go. And I'm not saying dumpster because I hate that because like picking guys up off we always say picking up guys off the scrap heap. When Howie Roseman's done that in the past, a lot of times they've ended up being really big. They've ended up being contributors. He's a guy who can find talent out there. But now you've picked two guys off of that pile. I don't think the pile goes that deep.
Well, that's off of the street.
You're talking trade.
I'm talking trade, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm talking giving up, 6th round pick for some guy that's...
I want a safety, so yeah.
And I do too. But, the Eagles have draft picks, late round picks that they could easily give up. And the deeper that you go into the season, the less you're going to have to pay for a guy. So we've seen them do that a few times, whether it be Robert Quinn, which didn't really work out. But
didn't work out.
I would do that 9 times out of 9. And probably not 10 times out of 10. But... you've seen them do it with J.J. You've seen them do it a couple times in season. They'll make a trade. So not necessarily guys that are just waiting like Ndamukong Suh, but more so guys that are on bad teams that teams just go, all right, we're just selling.
When you see that Ndamukong Suh story, you bring him up. Last year, Howie and him talked all season long. They knew exactly what he wanted. He wanted to go to a contender, but he didn't want to come in too early. And they were talking. And they were waiting, and if there's a need, Howie had already expressed, hey, I'll call.
Well, that kind of goes to the clip I played 2 weeks ago from Mike Mayock describing what it's like to deal with Howie Roseman as an opposing GM. And for those that missed it, he basically said, Howie will just check in.
He thinks ahead.
He'll just call you, and it'll seem like a friendly conversation. Hey, let's just checking in, seeing how everything's going. So he's doing that with Mayock. He's doing that with every single GM. And now, and I forgot about that story, John, but now he's doing it with potential free agents.
Yeah, he's just saying, look,
sitting there.
He gauged his interest as early as late August. So obviously Howie knew he had some concerns. What if this kid doesn't work out and everything? And then the minute Jordan Davis got injured, he said, okay, I need you.
I mean, this dude's like a college head coach trying to recruit, it seems like. You got to keep in touch with all of these different recruits. And for Howie, it's different players, GMs, agents, but he manages to do it.
Yeah, he does. He's really good. I don't know where I fall now. I mean, I feel a little better after. And Pat earlier, we will talk about something later on where Pat just screwed up my day yesterday. But that you made me feel a little better, Pat. But I still have my doubts. It's good. I just got to wait and see. And I don't know how much we're going to see of Nicobe Dean now that he tweaked his ankle. He's supposed to be back at practice this week. I don't know. I mean, are we going to see him in game? I would hope so.
He's one starter that I absolutely need to see in games. Yeah, he's got to. He's not the biggest of guys. He has no experience at all as far as an NFL game goes with live action and all of that as a starter, calling the plays. None of that. Yeah, you have to get him out there, and if he's physically behind and a half a step slow because of an injury, you can't throw him out there because that's just going to mess things up even worse. So yeah, it's look, if I'm Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, Nick Sirianni, yes, I know I have a great team. I know I do. This is just me. This is my mindset. Okay, where are we the weakest? And that's what I want to approach. I don't want to sit on my laurels of my quarterback's great, my receivers are great. No, I want to shore up what I think is the weakest part of this team. And right now, that very well could be the linebacking core.
Now, wait a minute. Both of you just did something. Now, Bob just sat on his laurels. I don't know. If you sit on your laurels, aren't they going to be crushed? And Pat said he would do it 9 out of 9 times.
Yes.
I've never heard that expression
because
before.
I probably wouldn't do it 10 out of 10.
So you do. So you would have done it 9 out of 10 times.
Wow. No, why can't he do it 9 out of 9?
I mean, it's just different expressions. I mean, these different expressions.
We do not claim to be good at talking on this show. All right.
Bob's sitting on the laurels. That would crush the laurels. They're flowers, I think.
Well, how do you rest? You going to lay on your laurels?
I guess you do. I mean,
I'd rather sit.
Well, some people meditate.
I'm not a laying guy. I'm a sitting guy.
Lay on your laurels.
If you wanted to just give yourself like a 15-minute, 20-minute, are you laying down or can you sit up and take a nap?
Yeah, I can recline a little bit. I got this neck issue thing,
yeah,
so like
you got
it's
that.
Really it's really weird that I have to position my neck properly when I sleep or try to sleep because it'll give me bad headaches and stuff. So, yeah, if I'm going to go to sleep, I got to do the full-fledged, get the right pillow and get the head in between it and stuff like that.
Bob wants to talk about peaks and valleys when we return. Plus, a major media entity is sinking fast, but another entity might be called in to save it. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. With the birds in training camp, and we've been talking about it all morning, this is the perfect time to make your pro football
official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Hope your Tuesday's off to a great start. Your Monday night brought you some storms. Pat, looked like your area got hit pretty tough. We were watching the news this morning, had a lot.
Had to maneuver some down branches on the way to work today.
We had to do the downstairs to the basement thing for the tornado warnings. And it was, but thankfully no, anything major, just tree limbs down around the area. Bobby, did you get anything? Yeah, I mean, you got rain, right?
Yeah, we got, thunder and lightning and stuff, and it caused my wife and I to get into a little bit of an argument that was kind of funny. So it starts to come, and it's coming pretty good, coming down, and the lightning and thunder's going on. And she gets on her knees on our couch and starts looking out the window, big bay window that we have in the family room. I'm like, yeah, they just said, like, don't get near the windows. Like, I'm not this, like, oh, my God, let's go run and suck our thumbs. But I was just like, they just said get away from the windows. So she goes, I know, I'm just looking outside. I said, how does that make sense? I said, I just told you, they said to stay away from the windows because the winds are so high. And you say, yeah, I know, but I'm just looking out the window. How does that make sense? So then we had a little tit for tat,
there you go.
And we ended up laughing about it. But
finally,
yeah.
At some point.
But then she pissed me off again last night.
What'd she do then?
I'm just going to air it all out now.
What'd she do now?
So she always goes to bed early and she watches TV and all that stuff. And I say, stay in the other room and I read or write or whatever. So I go to bed. I go into the room. She's sound asleep. And I mean sound asleep. I haven't gotten my clothes out yet. The TV's on. I get my clothes out, realize I have to go downstairs to the wash, get that, bring it up, fold it, put it away, blah, blah, blah. Does not move. Does not move. I get into bed. I start looking for the remote to turn off the TV. And I go, what are you doing? I said, I'm turning off the TV. I'm listening to this.
And she's asleep.
Really? I said, really? I said, I've been in the room for like 20 minutes. You haven't moved. I know you were sound asleep. I have to get up in 4.5 hours. But what, you want me to keep this on so you can hear it while you sleep? Click. Good night.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
See, now I will wake up. If you wake me up out of a deep sleep, I have no idea what I say.
The king and his kingdom.
Or otherwise.
That's right.
So I have no idea. So I can understand that. I'm going to defend her a little bit.
Now,
maybe she just...
There is no defense.
Maybe she just didn't know. So.
Pissed me off.
Hey, Dominion National offers dental and vision plans for everybody. Starting at under $8 a month
Not
at
really.
teethkeepersave.com. Go to teethkeepersave.com and enroll today. And in Cooney's Corner, much like last night at his house, life is full of peaks and valleys.
Now, let's see what's in Cooney's Corner.
Yeah, it's funny. I was trying to remember back to last season with the Phillies where, we've endlessly talked about them kind of backing into the playoffs and all of those different things and what happened. But you didn't expect much from that team last year. It wasn't like you expected World Series run. You were hopeful. We were all hopeful for it.
Hopeful, but not expected.
We talked about 85 to 88 wins, and maybe that'll get you in. So put yourself in that mind frame of what it was last year. Expectations, we have to go all the way back until the, mid-2000s that we had, like, real expectations for this team. My point being, this year, I don't remember a year that has been so peak and valley with my emotions in this baseball team or with our emotions as a fan base for a baseball team as this year. I mean, when the highs are high, they're really cool. 13 in a row or 12 in a row, whatever it was, on the road. Wins on the road, long winning streaks, good baseball, great pitching for almost 25 days. All of those things. And then you have the valleys, which we just seem to, creep up on us an awful lot. First of all, do you guys remember a season like this that, I don't want to say frustrated you the most, but played with your emotions like this one?
This is the most frustrating because I think of last October. Is that our expectations were like, okay, you're National League champs, act like it, play like it, do like it. Chest yourself for a second, Bob. Are the Phillies won 87 games last year? How do you feel like they're doing right now compared to last year?
That's the question that.
What would you say? Like, what do you think? They're 61 and 51.
I have been so up and down with this team that I have turned into, and I say this in a good way because I always wanted to be one.
Okay.
The average Philadelphia fan. that I am just so reactionary with this team.
They're 2
that
wins behind,
I can be saying in my head, God darn, you suck tonight. And then at the end of the game, being all pumped up that they won the game. I'm usually the level-headed, non-boring person.
You are.
But not this year. This team is just eliciting emotions out of me, and I think the fan base more so than in a long time ago. So my ultimate question is, do you feel more comfortable that this team can ride the peaks or the valleys for the rest of this season? Which one do you think is going to be the what defines this team before the season's over?
Patty? By the way, they're 2 wins behind last year's pace.
I'm going to go with the peaks just because I don't want to think about the valleys. But I'll go with the peaks based on their schedule. And that's probably not the best way to judge it because they do play down to their competition a lot of times. But hopefully they'll be able to carry over their success from the weekend. And I feel like we've said that every single weekend. They'll be able to carry that over. It's like you could flip a coin. You catch me today, and I'm going to say the peaks, and then if they end up... They
sweep tonight, you'll feel better.
Yeah, but if they end up splitting and the one loss, they gave up the game, you know what I mean? They had a situation where they probably could have won it, and it's a mental error. I'm going to be coming in and talking about the valleys. So you're very, very accurate with what you're saying, Bob. To answer your question, it's not a good one because it could change within the hour, but I'll go the peaks.
So let me ask you this, because, Pat, you're probably the most emotional, and you've been around for years. Has this season elicited more emotion out of you than pretty much you can remember recently? Both good and bad?
Yes and no. Like in 2000, or not 2000, I want to say 2019 or 2020. Like that was a really emotional season because they had Harper, they had Realmuto. You felt like they were on the right path, and they just couldn't get over the hump with Gabe Kapler, and that was frustrating. 2006, they end up selling at the deadline, trading Bobby Abreu for 4 prospects, and only one was on the Major League roster at that point. But then they end up winning a bunch of games, and Ryan Howard goes off for an MVP season. And then if they just beat the Astros 1 game, they would have made the playoffs. That was a pretty frustrating season. I feel like, and I've asked myself this very question, Bob, I feel like this is probably baseball when you have high expectations. Because it's such a long season, and you tend to forget that at times, that you will focus on the negative of that one loss instead of the big picture of this. As we talked about, the perfect example is the pitching staff that John brought up.
And I didn't believe it.
Where we harp on it, we're negative about it, and we're like, this could be better, and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like you look at the numbers, you go, wait, it's not nearly as bad as we think. So I think that our feeling with this season just comes with high expectations that happened because of last season.
But there's nothing unfair about those, right? I mean,
no, there's nothing
we should be. You got one of the highest payrolls in baseball.
Yep.
You went out and got 2 more players.
Yep.
So all of that doesn't even lend to last year. You got 2. You have one of the highest payrolls. You got one of the best shortstop in all of baseball.
Another starter.
Another starter.
By the way, now you got 2.
Right. So all of that, forget about last year, because I really don't think about last year a lot. I just think more of, I think, John, what you pointed out, the payroll, the talent, all of that, and it's still just, for the most part, 500 baseball now, 10 games above. I don't know. I don't want to let frustration override my feeling is for this season, because it could be a 92, a 91 win season. But at the same time, it has been just a roller coaster of a season when emotions come to me.
Well, 30-20 the rest of the way, and you get 91 wins. Man, that's really good.
Yeah, 29, 21, 90, 30-20, 91. It's doable.
It's very doable.
It's been a frustrating season because of how I feel like it's because of how they've lost these games. They haven't necessarily gone out there and just gotten shellacked, and you can go, okay, put that one behind us. It's the way that they've lost. It's a lot of errors that are just self-inflicted, and you sit back and you go, this team could be so much better. Where, they wouldn't be in front of the Braves, but they wouldn't also be 10, 11 games back.
They'd be so comfortable in the wild card, we wouldn't even be thinking about it.
If they had just cleaned up the little mental mistakes, and I think that leads to the frustration as well. Big time, at least for me.
7 o'clock hour, the John Kincade Show is brought to you by the all-new Bet Parks app. Sportsbook and casino in one sleek, easy-to-use app. in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I don't know if you guys saw the story. Now, Pat, you are a cord-cutting household.
Yeah,
right?
for probably
how many years?
6 years.
Okay.
5 or 6.
Christina wants to do this badly, and I'm hesitant to do it. She really wants to cut the cord. Bob, you have cable or do you have satellite? What do you have?
Cable and streaming.
Okay, we have cable, and we do all the streaming stuff too, but it is. I don't know if you've seen about the NFL Network, but it is cratering. The NFL Network has lost 20 million subscribers in the last 10 years. And in the NFL Network used to have 72.5 million subscribers. And now the NFL Network is just about over 50 million subscribers because Comcast, Spectrum, and other big providers are not putting the NFL Network on it. And Comcast has lost 543,000 video customers during the second quarter of this year. So 543,000 people said, no more, we're going to go to do that. It's almost 6,000 subscribers a day. It's killing the NFL Network. The NFL Network is working at an unprofitable number right now. But the NFL, I don't know if you saw this, the NFL and Disney are in talks to have the NFL buy part of ESPN. They're potentially going to buy part of ESPN. And if that did happen, they would also, they want the NFL Network and the NFL Red Zone to become part of ESPN. And then ESPN would have that. And there's a chance that the NFL Network would become sort of like a shadow brother of ESPN. I don't know how I feel about a sports league owning ESPN or being an owner of ESPN. And they say that the same offer would be made to the NBA because they don't want to sell to Apple. They do not want to sell. ESPN does not want to sell to Apple. Disney does not want to sell off ESPN to Apple and have them control everything. But so the NFL is interested in doing this. But then the NFL is like, well, you would also take the NFL Network and NFL Red Zone, and that would be part of the deal. ESPN would have that, and they would control that. I don't know if I like a sports league owning a media outlet, though. Like where
I hope the NFL doesn't suffer from all this.
Exactly. The idea, though, is can you believe the NFL is a network that's sinking, that's failing? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. It's the most successful business.
I can.
Okay.
I can't believe it. Yeah, because at least for me, when you cut the cord, which tons of people are doing, and I think more of your generation, you and Bob,
hesitant
are hesitant, but are getting on board with it. Like my dad started asking me probably a couple of months ago about cutting the cord, and I gave him my tips on what he should do because he got sick of it. Eventually, it's like, look, I've been doing it this long, but this bill's too much.
It's way too much. It's way too much.
When you look at the alternative, you're looking at an alternative because you're trying to save money. And one of the add-ons, if you're cutting the cord, is the NFL Network. And yeah, you can get the NFL Network and it's in a package and it'll be like the NFL Network and the Big Ten. But it's 4 or 5, channels that you don't care about. So you're really simply just paying for the NFL Network. And I ask you, what on the NFL Network is really worth checking out for $9 a month? Because that's probably what you end up paying for those 4 to 5 channels, but you only end up watching one. And the answer is none. I mean, if the NFL Network were to bring on the Red Zone, then it would be completely different.
Now, the Red Zone will then go to ESPN. If ESPN buys this, the NFL will then give sort of the Red Zone and NFL Network to ESPN, which then you're duplicating effort.
And I haven't looked into it, but what all of these leagues should do, and I'm talking MLB Network, NHL Network, NFL Network, NBA TV, they should all join forces, and that's the package. You get all 4 for one price.
I would pay that.
4 major package.
Yeah, because I would pay for that in a heartbeat.
What would you pay? $20 a month?
No, Jesus, dude, I'm not Drake. I'm paying maybe like
$9.99.
Yeah, maybe $9
for all 4 of them.
But you get all 4, and it's the original programming stuff. The problem too is these leagues that have their own network, they don't have enough original programming. The one league that tried to do it was actually MLB Network, which is a surprise, where when they first started, they did have original programming shows. And I'm not just talking like the debate shows, but they did a whole series on bullpens.
Yes.
So they followed around. I remember 2009, I want to say, they followed around the Phillies bullpen, and it was really good TV. Then they followed around. They did like a Hard Knocks type show with the Marlins, where they followed them through the season, and that was good, and it made me want to watch it. But these leagues just, they get too arrogant with their line of thinking of, well, we're popular. People will just want to buy it.
We can go 24/7 without actual programming.
Yeah, like
for most of the days.
But nobody wants to watch a random playoff game from 10 years ago.
I got to tell you, I'll ask you rather. You're right on this, Pat. How often do you watch any of those networks?
I
NFL, NHL, MLB, and NBA.
See, I record their 7:00 show or whatever, or 6:00 show or whatever it is off MLB Network. I just record it, and then I end up sometimes going a week where I haven't watched it for 3 nights, and I'll just delete it because it's old material.
I feel like MLB is probably the best. They have they'll throw in a lot of baseball movies, which is good. You fill that up because baseball has got great movies, but they also have really good documentaries. But you're talking about a league that has, 100 and close to 130 years of history that they can date back to, and there's so much on the topic. The NFL and the NHL does the same thing. They rely heavily on past games, and with all of the selection that I have at the palm of my hand, I'm not sitting there going, "Let me watch the 1996 Stanley Cup Final and sit down and think about yesteryear."
I got to tell you, pretty much the only times I'm turning those networks on is when I'm switching around and something kind of catches my eye. I don't know, Flyers Stanley Cup game from 1988 or something.
Whatever it is.
What? Yeah, and then that's just like a check in and then it's check out. I don't program myself for anything on any of those networks. It just has to be happenstance that I come across it, and that's maybe that's part of the reason why too, because
you stumble onto it.
Yeah, there's nothing must watch to me right now on any of those networks.
I follow every single night. I record Path to the Draft, leading up to the draft, and honestly, I do it to be able to think of ideas and content that we can use on the air.
And that's some good programming. Path to the Draft's good.
I like I do NFL Live every day. I do the NBA show every day, and then I'll delete them but if I know there's something I'm looking for, like, hey, we're looking for some off-season NBA content or Sixers content, I'll watch it that day. I delete them half the time.
Yeah.
But I just have them recorded so I can grab them if I want to, or if I find something is in there. Pat, you've got some concerns, and they surround JT Realmuto, but they're not about him?
Not necessarily. It's our old buddy Robbie T.
Who I will no longer call Captain Hook because I'm wrong. I was wrong on that.
Call him whatever you want.
No, I was wrong on that.
Oh, that's fine.
I got to tell him I was
wrong.
Call him
what you want. It's a good nickname.
Still wrong
a lot of people like Captain Hook. So when you're looking at JT Realmuto, I'm not breaking any news here. He hasn't had the best year in terms of what you'd normally expect from a JT Realmuto type season. Last year he hits 276, 342. He has 22 home runs. This year, 247, 312, 13 home runs.
Yeah.
I can't help but think that this isn't necessarily an age thing. He is 32 years old. But the drop-off, I don't think is age. I think it's way more to do with workload. He is the most worked catcher in baseball. This is a year after he was the most worked catcher in baseball. A year after he was the most worked catcher. So on and so forth. You get the idea. He has been...
Can I help you out with the number real quick,
yeah,
Pat?
Absolutely, yeah.
He's caught 106 innings, which is 60 more, or the equivalent of nearly 7 games, than Nationals catcher Keibert Ruiz.
And he's
Keibert's
younger.
Good. Yeah, Keibert's like 23.
Yeah, exactly. A 23-year-old can do that.
You've got a guy that is sitting there and playing a ton of innings. And this is a year after the exact same thing happened. Joe Girardi gets fired. He comes in, plays a ton of innings, and same thing. He led the major leagues in innings caught from behind the plate. My issue is, back in, I want to say, 2021, you had JT Realmuto starting to at least make the transition to first base, where I think it was Joe Girardi would give him a day off, and he would come in and say, "I'm not taking a day off. Put me at first," and then okay, that works out. That hasn't happened. And I think the workload of JT Realmuto sitting behind there and dealing with just the wear and tear of adding a full season onto his body, basically, after a 3-year stretch, I think that's having a bigger effect. I think Rob Thompson needs to start heavily looking into putting JT in a DH spot, moving him more into first base, and just making it easier on the guy's knees. Maybe I'm completely off base with this, and it just is nothing more than father time, but you're speeding up father time by having him constantly catching. Garrett Stubbs isn't so bad where you can't have him in there, a few more times, especially coming down the home stretch of this season. I want to see JT Realmuto way more in DH first base, and I know it's not going to happen, and that's my frustration.
Well, don't you think it's Rob giving in to him?
Possibly, but you're a manager. You have to.
I got you.
You have to save the guy from himself. You did that with Christopher Sanchez when he wanted to go out there and pitch more with a hurt tummy.
I think
you said, no, we got to save him from himself.
I agree. I think it's just the difference between a Christopher Sanchez. I think he's one of those guys that just comes in and goes, I don't want the day off. I don't want the day off. But it's not good for him. It's not good to have that much. It doesn't make sense.
It's not good at all. And, Pat, for what you say, to save his legs a little bit and you throw him at first or you DH him. Okay, you DH him. Who are you taking off of his feet? You're taking Kyle Schwarber off of his feet. Kyle Schwarber's played in almost every game this year. As a matter of fact, he has played in every game. 112 games. He's played in them all. He's playing left field an awful lot. His body's not made for that. It's just not. He was brought in here to be a DH, and because of circumstance, you have to throw him out in left field way more than you wanted to. Pat, I kind of agree with you. I think they go hand in hand, too. If you're taking Realmuto and making him a DH, all right, you're allowing him to get out from behind the plate, but also maybe you're just giving Kyle Schwarber a day off, too, to rest his legs.
This team just has a roster built around a bunch of guys who could really use to be the DH.
Yeah, they do.
Too many guys.
And
that's why this offseason, I honestly want to see them part with somebody, even if it's somebody that they like. They have too many guys who are built to be a DH that they could use, that they could park at DH to give them a bit of a break. Too many. I would think they have more than any team in the National League.
But you should be able to use that to your advantage in a way. I mean, you should be able to throw Kyle Schwarber in a left field and survive for like a game.
Right.
You should be able to throw Bryce Harper into a DH spot and throw him in a first base, and you should be able to survive. You should be able to move these pieces around, and the whole point of the DH is to kind of get these guys rest. But when you're only using the DH spot for two guys, and one of them I understand, the one of them was Bryce Harper, and it was because he couldn't play the field. Totally get that. But now that Bryce Harper can play the field, to only use it for Kyle Schwarber, I think is malpractice in a way. This year, JT Realmuto has only played catcher. Has not done DH one time, and I just looked it up. Has not played first base. Last year, under partially Girardi and Thompson, he played 5 games where he didn't play catcher. He would either DH or play first base. And the previous year, under solely Joe Girardi, he played 10. What do we got here? 30 at bats. So it was 10 games at first base, 3 games at DH. So you went from 13 to 5 to 0. And in that stretch, he's getting. Oh, that's right. He's getting older. This isn't Benjamin Button. No. So that's my point. Is you're driving this guy into the ground and speeding up the process of father time.
And he's not throwing out to the same level. Like the Royals this weekend ran on him all weekend.
Yeah.
Or did they run on the pitchers?
And that might be, if you could, I hate giving you homework, but I'm interested to see where he ranks in terms of throwing guys out. Because
I'll pull it up right now.
We all expected the stolen base number to go up this year, and it has. And I wonder if that is affecting how we view JT Realmuto throwing at guys. I noticed the same thing.
I loved watching the Royals run the bases because the Phillies are so hesitant to run the bases. I enjoyed seeing them do that this weekend. All right,
Phillies are hesitant to run the bases?
Yeah, hesitant to try to steal second.
Whoa.
Yeah,
okay.
They don't steal. They run into outs on the base pads.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
They're not good at running.
They're just not good on the base pads.
They need Davey Lopes.
Wouldn't that be nice? That'd be good for you.
What's he doing? He can't be doing much.
I think one of the greatest things in all of sports may be going away because it won't make sense. And Bob Cooney may shed a tear. Like the Native American guy when people litter. John Kincade Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Appreciate you being a part of the show. Tell your family, tell your friends. I was a little surprised, I must say.
What's that?
Well, I mean, the Statman Arc is, running the Fanatic fantasy football for the year. And I saw all the franchises, and everybody went out and got a franchise, and I didn't see any Bob Cooney, didn't see any Pat Egan, didn't see any Connor Thomas. Connor's the most competitive person in this building. Connor would literally bet you on, do you think the sun will be completely above that tree line by 6:51? And none of them in there. I was a little surprised. Like, best show ever. Tyrone, Jen, Dylan, Saltunis is in there.
Yeah, I can't speak for others, so I'll only speak for myself. I've been in the same fantasy league for about 20 or so years. I do not like to get into multiple leagues. It just takes up too much of my time and all that. I just like the one that I'm in, concentrate on that, and that's it. So I'll leave this one to the others. I
haven't done this. Pat, I haven't done this in a long time, so this is the first time I've done it in a long time. Pat, I was surprised. I thought you'd be there. I thought it'd be like
I meant to sign up. Just, I was lazy with it.
You were just lazy with it?
Better response than mine, Pat.
Well, it's interesting.
Oh, man.
Interesting.
The red hotline was just going off in there.
What's that?
I don't know, but see, little insight. Pat keeps that studio so dark. It's like I don't know what he's doing in there because I can't see him because it's so dark.
It is so dark.
So when the hotline phone just rang, it's a red light that goes. It looked like the commissioner's phone in the old Batman.
So he lifted the glass?
He lifted the glass and got the red phone.
By the way, that was plastic, by the way. I always thought it was glass. And it was plastic. Oh. I was surprised they did the back to the Bat Cave or something and showed you all that stuff. They had like 3 or 4 Batmobiles, which is another thing. Because I've seen it here's the Batmobile out at a show and stuff like that. That'd be a cool car to have. Be a nice little car to have taken down the road.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that.
Hey, take it with you all summer long. The Bet Park Sportsbook app. On the beach, the boardwalk, the boat, or the lake. Bet on sports. Play your favorite casino games for real money all in the palm of your hand. You got to be 21 and in Pennsylvania, Jersey, or Ohio. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I was thinking Pat was getting taken to the principal's office or something with a red phone going off.
Everything all right in there, Pat?
Yeah, there's a scheduling issue for tomorrow for Adam Schefter, so just figuring out what we want to do. If we want to have him, we could have him today.
I'd say if he'd like to do today, how about we do it today at 8:20?
Wow.
How about we do it then?
We can do it.
That's great.
We don't know if Adam can.
See if Adam can do it at 8:20.
Look, Adam's probably going to put up a fight.
I don't think he will.
But when you're dealing with me, he will eventually realize he's probably got to back down and just do the interview.
I think, Bob, something's going away that I know you love.
What's that?
I think the NCAA tournament's going to be going away in college basketball. Honestly, the ACC is going to grasp for life. The Pac-12 is gone. It's down to either 4 teams or 2 teams. It's gone. The Big Ten's jumping. There's talk that 2 members of the ACC in Clemson and Florida State may try to join the SEC. We're getting down to 2 or 3 conferences. And then what would be, I don't understand how you'd even have an NCAA tournament if you got 2 or 3 conferences that are in there where those are just the mega conferences because you're going to have too many great teams that have to go to the NCAA tournament out of 3 conferences. Whereas now you say you've got 5 conferences, and on average, each of the 5 major conferences says on average between 5 and 6 teams, maybe 6, 7. Now when you get these mega conferences, they're going to be sending 14 teams, 15 teams to the tournament.
Yeah, I don't think conferences is going to matter anymore. You still have over 315 NCAA men's Division I basketball teams. You can pick out 64, 68, whatever the hell they're doing now. They'll figure out how to do it. I don't think it's going to negate the NCAA tournament. It's too big for the NCAA. It's too much of a moneymaker for the NCAA. Yeah, it'll be weird how they're picking teams out. But look, it might be 1 through 355. You know,
Here's
355 teams. We're going to rank you 1 through 355. We don't give a rat's ass what conferences you play or don't play in. You know, Notre Dame's never had a problem making tournaments or not making tournaments, being an independent. I mean, that's the way it's going to be. I don't think it's going to ever negate an NCAA tournament. It'll be different in the way they choose the teams. Conference tournaments are going to be very wonky and may be non-existable in years to come. But no, the major NCAA tournament, I don't see that going anywhere anytime soon.
I mean, it's right now, if you take the Big Ten, they'd have to be inviting 11 teams out of the Big Ten into the NCAA tournament. And if the SEC expands, then it just seems like it's going to be duplicating. Conference tournaments then go to the NCAA tournament won't make much sense.
Yeah, exactly. Those conference tournaments may be in trouble.
Away?
Maybe. But again, money makers and all that's something that they're going to look at. But maybe. I mean, you can't have a conference of 4 teams and say, we're just going to take one, whatever. I think it's going to come down to more so, and this kind of sucks, because I love seeing the upsets and I love seeing the Appalachian states of the world, all of that stuff. But I think it's going to come down to, look, we're just going to go the 68 best teams in the country. Those are the teams that are in, and somehow they're going to figure out a format to figure that out. But no, I don't think the NCAA tournament's going anywhere.
I think the automatic bids are going to have to go. I like your idea. Take the 68 best. And isn't that what it should have always been all along?
I don't know. I mean,
you're sounding like Boeheim to me a little bit.
Well, because
he, by the way, he wants to expand to 96.
Well,
it's ridiculous. It's absurd. Why don't
you just start the NCAA tournament in October and just run it down into?
I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
I hear you about having the best 68 teams. Wouldn't that just be? But I kind of love that. Now that I'm old enough to have kids, what if I have a kid that plays for a lower Division I team, a Monmouth, say, over in Jersey, and they win their conference and they get a chance to play Duke? A good friend of mine played for Lafayette during their heyday, was a starting point guard there, and they went to the tournament 2 or 3 times. It's awesome.
Oh, it's charming as hell. It's very charming.
It is charming, and
but is it really?
But ultimately, don't you get almost
at the
all
end.
The time at the end the best teams come out winning? You do. So why not sprinkle in the funness, for lack of a better word, of having these 16 seeds or lower seeds, rising up and playing their best ball of the season and making a name for themselves?
Well, the first weekend's the best. To me, the first 2 rounds are the best.
I thought you liked chalk best.
No, but the first 2 weekends is the most interesting to watch. As far as that's where everybody goes out to the bars and has fun in the social.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I absolutely I don't want to see Cinderellas in the Final Four. When the years the Cinderella goes to the Final Four and they show, people go, they sort of check out. I don't want to I want to see the best team square it off. And it's just
if you're in there, you're the best team at that time.
Boeheim 90, but you're not though. You're not sometimes. I mean, when you get, I always think I would like a tournament where it reseeded, but you can't because of the pods.
Well, then the Phillies shouldn't have been in the World Series last year.
No, they won their way.
Well, so did the teams in the Final Four.
Exactly.
No, because what you did. No, because
they're going to the final. It means they won.
No, yes. If you end up winning a round, I get your point. If you get to the Final Four.
Oh, no, you've done it. But the thing is, a lot of times you'll find out where, and there'll be 2 upsets, and you'll have an 11 seed playing a 14 seed in the next round to advance to the Sweet 16 instead of where they legitimately should be reseeded.
No, and I get that, but my point, to that extent, totally. When you get to the Final Four, you're beating at least a couple of good teams.
Well, that's why I like
Baylor that they did. Or not
they
Baylor,
did.
not Baylor.
Butler.
Butler back-to-back years did it, and it was damn, this team's actually pretty good. But
Gonzaga showed that before people knew what Gonzaga was. They still don't know how to say it.
Pride of Spokane, Washington.
Yes, but they still do that. I'm anxious to see how this whole thing shakes out.
Yeah,
I don't think you can have. There are going to be 3 mega conferences if the ACC folds.
Yeah, I don't think conferences are going to much matter anymore. I really don't. When we had Fran Dunphy on Friday, you could just see and people listening to it, and I got some great tweets and text messages about how much fun it was to listen to him. But you can just see I don't want to put a wrong word here. I don't want to see angst, but maybe trepidation or whatever that Dumpf has about where basketball is going right now. And, he said it before, like the unevenness of NIL and all of that stuff. It's now a league that doesn't have a salary cap. Did we ever think we'd be talking about that when it came to college basketball? But it's a true thing. And it's a total unfair playing advantage right now. And, that's the thing that you're going to have to take into consideration probably down the road when they finally find a solution of how to handle this. What is fair as to who makes a tournament and who doesn't. And it's all going to play out in the next few years. And as you said, John, it's going to be interesting to see how it does.
It's weird because I have always championed for the players to be paid. So I've been one of those people banging that drum saying, I think this is great. But then when you see it happen, the law of the unforeseen circumstances that you don't think of, all the things that are coming together.
Sure.
And it makes a lot of programs sort of borderline irrelevant.
Yeah,
anymore, they can't compete.
You can be a coach that develops a relationship with a kid. The kid loves the college where you coach. You think that he's coming in, and then somebody offers some more money.
Yeah.
Like, University X can say, oh, well, here's $50,000. What are they giving you? Oh, they're only giving me $25,000. Yeah, come on here. You double your money. And
every kid at Texas Tech's going to get $50,000 on the football team. And I think the basketball team, I think they're getting like $35,000 from one company coming in and doing it.
Yeah, they did, Real Sports did a whole story. I talked about it before, I think. It's an energy bar company that they're paying Utah State's players.
Right.
So what the guy does, they literally have a check ceremony like every 2 weeks or something where he hands out the check to the players. And if you're a walk-on, you're getting your education paid for. So you're not getting a check, but you're basically on scholarship. And he's doing it because he's a big fan of the school, but he also said, this is also like a marketing thing for me. Well, you guys are now interviewing me about it. You probably didn't hear of my company. Now you did. So some of these schools, they need to find that big booster that's willing to do something similar to that it entices players to stay because they like the school and not necessarily I'm chasing a paycheck.
And as much as you guys won't want to admit this, Villanova's way ahead of the curve once again
they hired
by hiring Baker Dunleavy to be a general manager.
Smart move.
It's funny. Dumpf and I were having a conversation a couple of months ago. I had to go up to LaSalle for my niece, and I stopped in his office, and we were just shooting the stuff.
The stuff.
And when he brought that up to me, like, look, NCAA's basketball, it's going to have a salary cap, and you're going to have to find it. And it just like hit me like a ton of bricks. I can't believe I'm sitting in a coach's office, which I've done a million times in college basketball, and we're really talking about salary cap when it comes to this game. And I hate to say it, and I hear your argument for it, and I don't love the fact of kids getting paid, but I just think money may just ruin college athletics in a way that we may see over the next few years.
I guess I just look at it as why are we sending Liv to college to go get paid and get a job and do stuff and everything? And that's what if a kid's going to school, they're trying to make money. Everybody's trying to make money, and I love to see the kids getting what they can demand. It's what the market will pay you for your skill set.
Yeah, I told you guys.
I love it.
I told you guys before. I was covering a Final Four one time, and Calipari was one of the coaches, and we were doing a press conference, and somebody asked him straight out about you get these guys for one and done. Don't you care about them getting the college experience, whatever? And his response, I thought, was pretty cool. He said, okay, if you had a kid that was going to college and you had a professor that could say, I'll teach him one subject for 1 year, and I'll guarantee you that he's going to make $1 million or so at least next year. Would you not sign up for that professor?
Absolutely.
He says, look at me. I'm Professor Calipari. Your son's going to play a year basketball for me, and then he's going to go make $1 million.
And he delivered on that.
Most of the time, yeah.
He delivered on it. Guys got the opportunity. They had to make the most of it at that point. A week into Eagles camp, Bob's got some feelings. He doesn't seem like a feelings guy to me.
Now, let's see what's in Cooney's corner.
I have many feelings, John.
Feelings.
It's so weird with this Eagles camp a week in, a little bit more than a week in. I don't want to say apathy because apathy to me is a negative word, But I think you can also say it in a positive way, that things are so good, I don't have to worry. I don't have to put so much feeling towards something. But I find it funny that, as Pat alluded to earlier, after our show yesterday when we were meeting, we were like, yeah, there's not a lot of Eagles talk. We really got to get more into the Eagles. And all of us kind of looked at each other and we're like, about what? There's no controversy with the quarterback. Right. There's no injuries going on that have you upset. There hasn't been word coming out that, Jalen Hurts doesn't look like he did last year. No, everything's been on the positive. There hasn't been just anything. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a great thing, but it's frustrating for us because you don't want to just do the, as Pat will say, the hot take thing and just create stuff on a daily basis.
No, of course not.
Like,
no.
Would you trade Jalen Hurts for whatever? I mean, we just don't do that. So to me, it's a great thing as a fan of the team, but it's a tougher thing trying to do this job for a thing. I'm so glad for the games to start, the countdown to begin, the final roster to come together, and we can get on with this season. It is 33 days to the opener, by the way.
Yeah, and Nick Sirianni plays a huge part in all this, in that the way he runs his practices, his offseason and all. They're not on the field all that much. When they do, it's quick work, get it done, get out. He wants to stay away, obviously, from any chance of getting injury. It appears that the stars are starring. It appears that everything he wants to do, wants to get done, is getting done in the fashion that he perceives it and wants it to go. And it's just, I really sit back and when we were talking to Jeff McClain, it kind of hit me on Friday that, yeah, he kind of takes the fun out of reporting, in that it's so good that it's just kind of staying at that good level and there's nothing more to, almost like, hey, nothing more to see here. We got our work. We got it done.
It does
and
seem
everybody's
that way.
at the level where we want them to be.
It does seem that way.
It's crazy.
A little bit of that. And that's good news. I mean, we're not used to it, though. And I think it's one of those things where you're a little uncomfortable because you're not used to it.
Now, okay, let's just go over some players. We talked about Nicobe Dean and the need to see him in preseason games. Pat, are you on board with that?
A little bit. I mean, in this first preseason game, I'm okay if they sit him just because of the injury. I want him to get right. Second, third, yeah, I'm interested to see him. But if they hold him out, once again, I'm the blind optimist when it comes to Sirianni and this coaching staff. Now, with that said, and you brought up something earlier, Bob, when we discussed this topic a little bit, and it's the Desai factor. I would like to see him with Sean Desai in this new defense. He's got to learn an entire new scheme. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting, but if I don't see him, I'll continuously remind myself, don't question, just trust.
Yeah, and that's why this offseason I've had to do that, Pat. Literally just say, you were wrong both years. He had the better plan.
So let me run down some of the positions for you and let me know who you want to see out there. What running backs do you want to see out there in the preseason? Any of them? And we're just talking
all
big four.
No. I would like to see all of them for a little bit.
You want to see Swift and Penny
bit.
and
just a little bit, not a lot. One series, 2 series, the entire 3 games.
I only want to see Gainwell, Boston Scott, and whoever else they have.
Trey Sermon.
Let me get a nice sermon going. I don't want to see Penny, who's constantly banged up and injured. So I wrap that dude in bubble wrap.
That's fair enough.
Don't want to see DeAndre Swift either, because the reports are he's flashing and all that. I don't need to see him.
Supposedly the most exciting player at camp.
Because if he's going to be your starter, I don't want to see the starters.
And those guys, it's not like they're rookies. It's not like they haven't had playing time. They've been featured backs on other teams. So I'm kind of with you on that, Pat. And then, look, Gainwell and Boston Scott, they're kind of in the same roles they were before. Do you really need anything to see out of them?
Well, Gainwell, yeah. I mean, he's going to be entering, for me, his 3rd year. Is he going to build off of the late season carries that he got last year?
Fair enough.
So I would like to see him, because if he can be a DeAndre Swift for next season, if they don't bring DeAndre Swift back, that'll be a big boost for this offense. But those 2 guys, I feel like, are kind of battling out for a roster spot. So I want to see them. But in terms of DeAndre Swift's a starter, I don't want to see any of the starters because I'm worried. I'm terrified of injuries.
All right, what about offensive linemen? Do you need to see Cam Jurgens in there at the right guard spot?
I personally don't. I'm more interested in
Tyler Steen.
Well,
yeah,
Steen's going to need to be in there.
I agree with you. How about you, John? Cam Jurgens at right guard where he hasn't played before.
Yes, and but I don't want to see Lane Johnson. Don't want to see Mailata. Don't want to see Kelsey.
So
those three, I don't want to see.
Yeah, I don't. Or Landon Dickerson. I don't think I want to see him either because
he's a Pro Bowler. From
the knees down, that's a concern with him. I don't know. Do I want to put Cam Jurgens in there with a bunch of guys he's not going to play with? This is the balance that you have there. All right, let's go defensive side of the ball real quick. We already talked about the need we think for Nicobe Dean. Who do you need to see on the defensive front that we already know about? Do you need a Josh Sweat in there at all?
I don't.
I don't.
I don't either.
I want to specifically see what's behind Josh Sweat. I want to see depth.
Okay.
I don't need to see any of this stuff. That especially is an area of they need to develop some depth.
And we don't have to make cuts, right? Until after the third game.
Shouldn't. No.
Jordan Davis.
Yes.
Yes.
Jalen Carter.
Yes.
All right, Derek Barnett.
No.
Yes.
Yes,
coming back from injury.
No.
Coming back from injury, I want to see him because he hasn't proven enough. No.
Nolan Smith.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we're all pretty much, and then I don't think you're going to see either one of the corners, Slayer, Bradbury. Bradbury's dealing with a little bit of an injury. Devontae Maddox. I kind of lean towards no because that guy gets hurt a lot.
Yeah, I don't want to see him.
I'm with you. I want to see Zach McPherson.
I want to see Zach McPherson a lot.
Keely Ringo, I mean.
Ringo, yes. And Mama Ringo. We'll see Mama Ringo out there.
I don't know what that is.
You will see her.
Play? I mean, if she can't play, I don't care about her.
Let's just say you will know Mama Ringo by midseason. You will know her. She cannot be. She is a force of nature that cannot be.
I mean, maybe Jamie
overcome.
will care about her. I could not care less about the mothers. That makes me. I know that makes
you
me
a bad person.
That makes me a bad person, but I don't. If your kid can play, great. If you're not, your tweets aren't going to make me feel better.
Mama's not like that. Mama's a big fundraiser for.
That's great. I mean, I'll support the kids.
Good.
But in terms of like me caring about, I'm never going to be following her.
You won't follow her?
No, that's I leave that up to Jamie.
Will do.
Jamie will. He follows the moms, the wives, the girlfriends.
Do you follow Jennifer Slay?
I do not.
I was going to say it's a good segue.
I think you should have.
I should. But I did see this tweet
because it is a brilliant deal, and Jennifer Slay should run for freaking mayor. We'll talk about it next. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
So damn proud.
Adam Schefter joins us in a half hour on a special Tuesday visit with us, John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Pat, I'm sorry I didn't follow up with Adam about that, and I did say last week.
That's on me. He mentioned it last week. I meant to hit him up afterwards. I forgot. So but that's the kind of guy that Adam is. Instead of we've had guests, not on our show, but there's guests that previously, we would have called them up for their weekly hit, and they would have been like, "Oh, I don't know what to tell you. I told you." But Adam, doing his due diligence, calls up and says, "Hey, I want to make this happen."
He's proactive about it.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Takes care of it. He is.
What does he have going on tomorrow that he can't come
traveling.
on the show?
He's traveling on a
Where is
plane.
he going?
You'll have to ask him.
We'll find out. Get to the bottom of it,
you're
Cooney.
a journalist. Ask him the hard-hitting questions that you want answered.
Bob, you're the journalist on the show. I mean, come on now.
Like if
Get to the bottom of it.
You're not going to ask the hard-hitting questions, then what purpose do you have on this show?
I mean, seriously, you're the hard-hitting journalist.
Question. What purpose do I have on this show?
PXG's new Gen 6 driver is so good, they're going to bet it's better than yours. Test their Gen 6 driver, and if it doesn't deliver more distance or tighter dispersion than yours, they'll give you $100. Join at pxg.com. I want to get to the bottom, too, of why did Connor not join the fantasy football?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't.
Connor, I'm going to need an explanation, Connor.
If he
as far
can't-
as if he's
I'm
not
going to say
around.
this lately. I'm so busy. I have to do the podcast and it.
Why
So
did
we'll
he
have to
not?
let him
He's
speak for
whispering.
himself.
Speak, Bob. That's your segment. Now you don't want to
good
ask
point.
hard-hitting questions. Then you don't want to do that. Connor, why did you not join the fantasy football?
I saw one email about it like 2 months ago, and I forgot.
Because you enjoy that very, very much.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it closed? I didn't even know.
It's closed. Yeah, that's it.
I don't know.
I mean, I think of you. If I think of people around the station, like that would be really into it. Know the standings.
Yeah, but it wasn't like we got an email that said, "Oh, last day to sign up for the fantasy football league." Like I just forgot it was a thing until you mentioned it.
So you just, when you hear about these things, you just sort of put them off, or what?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, stuff gets said a lot around here, and I'm listening to a bunch of different audio and stuff. Like I lose track of stuff every once in a while. That's not work related. I'm trying to focus on stuff that's show relevant. And
He's busy, Bob.
when I get an email, I'm trying to say that without saying that because you guys will rip me for he's busy.
Pat, he's busy.
He's busy.
He's
That's
busy.
exactly what
Too
Bob
busy.
said.
But I am. I get a bunch of emails and
Okay, good.
I don't know. I would love to
I
play
get
in
a
it.
bunch of emails.
Okay.
Yeah, so
All
I
right,
just,
we'll-
I just didn't.
Excuse.
We'll
I
see
get
if
a
we
bunch
can,
of
We're going to
emails.
see if we can swing something here. Good job. Connor Thomas, ladies and
Wait,
gentlemen.
swing something? What?
Yeah, there's
are
nothing
you
to
going to
swing.
kick someone out of the league?
Yeah, there's nothing to swing. We're not in the league. It's
We'll
fine.
see.
We'll move on.
I actually,
Life goes
how
on,
about
leagues
this?
go on.
Here's what I was going to do. I've already bought the franchise, and I've just seen where, honestly, my concentration level is really hard. It's really, really hard to concentrate, and I don't know that I'll be able to do things. But I was going to gift you a franchise.
Well, let's do this then.
What?
Why don't we? Because nobody else on the morning show is in the league.
Oh, why don't we call it the morning show?
Yeah,
team?
why don't we just quad manage
I think
this,
that's
Sean?
I think it's a great idea. Let's do that. We'll call the morning show team.
Yeah.
All right, morning crew. Good
There we
job.
go.
I like that.
Perfect.
Now the thing is, though, how do you function with? So is Pat? Like who's Howie?
It ain't Travis Fulgham in there.
Who's
All
Howie?
right?
Because I am not a.
All due respect.
I got to tell you right now, I'm not a. Now Haley is in it, so we will absolutely be. Then I think Haley is one of the franchise teams. She would be. Then we'd be trying to crush Haley
That's fine.
in the fail. Let me see if Haley is in. Yes, Haley is in, but she's in the other league, so it's good. So we could meet in the championship, but we could not meet in the. We could not meet in the regular season. I like that idea, Connor. Good job.
Yeah, but you got the franchise. You put all
Franchise
the
is
work
already
in,
in.
so I say you get final say. But
I don't need final say.
Okay.
I think we vote. I think final should be 3 out of 4. That we go because Haley can't have a vote, so we just say, okay, if 3 guys feel one thing, then we do it,
Okay.
and hopefully that'll work out. So, Jennifer Slay is an absolute gem, and we've gotten to hang out with her and meet her a few times. But Big Play Slay certainly knows how to pick a bride because she is smart, she is engaging, and she came up with an idea. We have discussed traffic getting in and out of the stadium complex I'd say 10, 20 times on this show in its history. And Jennifer Slay, a relative newcomer to Philadelphia, figured out a way to make that system much easier, much smarter, much better. And Pat, I feel embarrassed that it was up to Jennifer Slay to come up with this idea and present it out there that she wants to have. She says, why don't they build pedestrian bridges around the stadium complex, and then you block off the intersections where people can't walk across them.
Yeah.
And you then create traffic flow that doesn't have to wait for the public, that moves.
This is complete genius by her. I'm embarrassed that I didn't think of it as a person that's dealt with this crap for years.
We've always talked about it.
We've talked about ways to fix it. This makes the most logical sense, and that's why it won't happen. But this would solve a lot of issues, because there is nothing worse than you finally are able to get out of the parking lot, and then now I have to maneuver people trying to cross the street.
Right.
I'm having to maneuver large groups most of the time. They don't have enough cops down there to kind of keep the flow of traffic going. There's usually one guy trying to manage all of it. It's difficult on him or her. It's a situation that would solve a lot of issues, but I feel like bureaucratic red tape will get in the way of logic, and that's what this is. It's logic.
Well, they did it on.
This is a really great idea that could benefit pretty much everybody.
I remember when the Vegas Strip didn't have them. And the Vegas Strip traffic did not flow well. And then they built the overwalks. Everybody moved around, and it has helped traffic flow. This is brilliant, and I never thought, Bob, I've never even seen a local columnist or anybody write about this. This would make so much sense. A bridge from over to at the intersection there,
you need
where
3 bridges,
Xfinity Live, Citizens Bank Park thing. You have those,
and then the Jetro. You need 3 bridges, and you're good.
And you'll be fine.
It can't cost that much money, I feel like. Well, you say, what's that?
You think it could cost a lot of money?
Well, I think the city would tell us it cost a ton of money.
The city would tell you it costs millions and millions of dollars, and that's what I'm talking about. The political bureaucratic BS would absolutely get in the way of this. But my hope for this situation would be that Jeffrey Lurie would see it and just foot the bill and I'm not even going to wait. I'll just start getting on it.
How about they all foot the bill? The Phillies, the Eagles, the Sixers, and the Flyers fit the bill. They take care of it, and it would take care of traffic problems getting in and out of the stadium.
And you call them Slay's Ways.
That's a great name.
I love that idea.
I don't even care who foots the bill. I just want it done at this point, because it's the absolute worst. I mean, it's terrible. It's horrible. No, I mean, very few people will cross at the light, but even when you do, look, we've had to try to maneuver to get from the S slot over to Xfinity Live.
It's crazy.
It's a disaster because of the fact that cars are turning right to get into one of the lots, and you're all of a sudden it becomes Frogger. So this would solve a lot of problems. A lot of problems.
I think the worst corner to me is Xfinity Live diagonal to Citizens Bank Park, because they actually put up barricades to say you're not supposed to be crossing, and you got people just jumping the barricades, walking in the lane of traffic.
Yeah.
And to me, that would be great. I say Jennifer Slay, third-party candidate for mayor, because she came up with an idea that all of us who've lived here our whole lives have not thought about. I mean, it's so simple.
Where were we that we walked over the bridge? Was it Vegas, where you walk over the bridge to go to the...
Yeah.
Connor was hitting on the
that's great.
Connor was hitting on the daughter. The daughter was ignoring him, and then Connor moved over to the mom.
And was that where you and I sat down in the end zone?
That's where you guys went to the elite section and left us.
Okay,
yeah, we did. Yeah.
And left us behind.
Well,
and didn't even care about us.
No, we don't.
Chevy
just don't.
Chevy and Connor and I are sitting up top going, well, where'd they go?
We didn't want you to find out like this.
And then you went to a VIP section.
No. Bob, don't try to talk logic into him. Let's just.
What did you do? You did that. That's exactly what you did.
Oh my God, we have retold this story plenty of times.
The thing is, though, Pat,
we went to go get food. And then we ended up walking around the stadium.
And I got a text message.
And you got a text. I mean, you're making it out to be
you would just say, "Hey guys, we're not coming back."
I swear to God.
Guys,
he
we're not
wanted
coming
ice
back.
cream. I was going to grab a beer or
Why
something.
do you? We weren't even sitting near each other. Why do you care where we're at?
Because we're all together. We're all up there.
Though. Like you were sitting in like seats 1 and 2 of like row 13, and me and Bob are in seats like 25 of row 12.
I
We
understand.
weren't anywhere near each other.
But we were with our listeners and us.
Oh my God! All right,
I'm just saying,
Like, no,
Pat.
wait,
You have ultimate foxhole now for me. You have like the gold card now.
No.
You have like the black card of foxhole.
Taking it back.
But you can't.
Put my hair
growing
back.
my
You're gonna put your hair back? You can't. You can't.
I'm super gluing it back on.
Hey, people have done that. 8 o'clock hour of the John Kincade Show. Like Pat can never get. Like I could never. There's nothing I could throw at Pat ever. Go. Hey, yeah. Well, remember that time? Well.
No, now
Dude.
I'm actively texting people saying, "Get me away from him."
The girls cried.
And it was Chevy.
The girls
by the way.
cried, by the way.
They were just so sad about it. Lost my hair.
No, they thought it was incredibly sweet of you and Connor.
Tell them it'll grow back.
They thought it was great. They know it'll grow back because it's good lettuce, as you like to say.
Yeah.
So as we start this hour, we're going to go through this process now, and I'm going to save this for after Schefter. So I'm going to go to another topic at the moment because I want to know we will be playing the first 9 teams out of the playoffs game coming up.
Wait,
The
when's
Chiefs.
Schefter coming on 10?
He's coming on 8:20.
Oh.
So we'll do that.
You don't want to do that now?
If you're ready to do it, are you all ready to do it?
I don't care. It's
Connor,
up to you.
Connor, you have your 9 teams. Get in, then we can do it. It is the first 9 teams. Now, last year, we did great at this. Now, somebody else is going to say, whoop-de-doo, all you're doing is picking the 9 worst teams in football. Every one of us putting our own list together. I will compile everybody's list and make sure that we've got it tracked. Last year, some of us were perfect. And overall, as a show, we did really, really good. Now, Connor is in the mix this year. So he's going to be in on this. It is the 9 worst teams. So listen to this, and I want you to play along whether you're at work or otherwise, and you can share them on social media too. All you're doing today, this is simple. There are 9 teams that you can look at and say they will never make the playoffs. Now, last year when we did this, we all agreed on 6. Every one of us had 6 teams that were not going to make the playoffs, and they all did not make the playoffs. So we were all right, and we nailed 6. I wonder how many we're going to come up with today and whether that number is going to be similar or not. So I'm going to give you 3 teams, and then we'll see if you guys have them also on your list, and then we'll go to Bob, and we'll go to Pat, and Connor's the newbie, so we'll see if it comes down to that. Then maybe Connor will have a team that is not left over. All right, here's the first 3 that I have absolutely will not make the playoffs, and I'm going to take low-hanging fruit. It's Houston, it is Carolina, and it is Arizona. I go Houston, Carolina, Arizona. If you do not have them on your list, then we will find out down the line. But I go Houston, Carolina, Arizona for my first 3.
So we're only going 9, so I can't take 3 because there's 4 of us here.
No. You do. Because Connor will come in if there's somebody that's sitting out that is not in there. Do you have Houston, Carolina, and Arizona missing?
Yeah, I have them on my list.
So you have them on your list.
Yeah.
But, Pat, do you have Houston, Carolina, Arizona on your list?
Yes.
Okay, well then we're in a good situation here. So that's perfect. Now, Bob, we all have Connor, do you have them on your list?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, I'm all. Okay, so we all have them on our list. That's how this is supposed to work. Now, Bob's gets a little more difficult because we may not all agree with the next 3 that Bob has.
I got Buccaneers, Commanders, Colts.
I have the Bucks and the Colts on my list. I did not put the Commanders. So, Pat, did you have all 3 of Bob's?
I did.
So you do. Connor, did you have all 3 of Bob's?
Yes, I also have all 3 of Bob's.
So you're all on this. I'm feeling weird about that. But then again, remember, next week we'll do 9 more. We'll do 9 more, the next 9 that have been in. So you guys all have Bucks, Colts, Commanders. All right, so then we bring it to Pat Egan. Pat, are you going to say, are the Chiefs making it this year? Oh, that's next week. I'm sorry.
Are you done? Wow. I am going to go with Oh, God, that's an all-time bad one. I'm going to go with Patriots, Browns, and I will go with the Raiders.
Wow, Patriots, Browns, and you go Raiders. Are all three of them on your list?
Did not have the Raiders.
I did have Patriots. I did have also the Raiders. So I've only got 7 of the 9 so far that have been listed on mine.
I have the Patriots, but I had neither of the other 2.
So you have the Patriots. All right. So we've got some. Now, a lot of times these same lists, when you do this, you'll end up with lists that come together and go, okay, down the line, we can figure it all out.
Right.
That next week we'll pick the same guys that they didn't pick. All right, Connor, give me something that's out there on your list. So you have, Connor, do I have you for...
I have 2 more teams that have not been listed.
Okay.
The Atlanta Falcons.
So you're going Atlanta.
And the Los Angeles Rams.
I think the Rams is an easy one that I honestly can't believe people didn't pick. Because I think the Rams are going to be terrible.
They're a dumpster fire.
I think they're going to be terrible.
Yeah, so my 9 are off the board.
So you're all done.
Yeah. Yep.
You're off the board. You're all off the board. I said I have. You have another one?
No, that's my 9.
Okay, there you're 2. Okay, there's one more that I had that I think that you guys will just be a little bit. I think you'll be a little bit surprised with that I would take, and it's I'm going to go Tennessee Titans.
I'm not
As
surprised.
one of the worst teams in football, though.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
You really aren't? See,
No.
I thought that would be my shocking pick that people would go, no way. Are they one of the 9 worst teams? I think they're picking in the top 10 next year.
They have a solid coach. They have a really good running back. I mean, what else?
They got a
are you
running
looking
back
at?
where the clock's ticking, I think, on.
Right. The quarterback
Everything.
situation's very up in the air.
So if we just go on these lines, is that next week we will pick 9 more, and then we will be all left with our 14 playoff teams, and then we will stack them up and see who wins divisions and everything like that. So, Connor, you want to read yours one more time for people out there?
Yep. Houston, Arizona, Carolina, Washington, Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Indianapolis, the Los Angeles Rams, and the New England Patriots.
And those Colts, they shouldn't be that good.
I just realized I think I had one that you guys didn't mention.
Who is that?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Green Bay.
So you're going Green Bay.
Yeah,
eh?
Interesting.
I think Green Bay.
In the first 9, you're like in your first 9.
Yeah. I think
Wow.
this is going to be a very gut check down year for the pack.
Whoa.
That might be my all-time.
No,
bad one, but the Chiefs are making it. So
Yeah, the
Chiefs are making it. The Packers are
don't
not.
give it away.
I mean, you don't want to give it away
You got 9
because
more to come
you got
next
9
week.
more to
Whoops.
pick next week. So wow, Bob, what's your 9 again? Just to give everybody out there.
I got Patriots, Browns, Texans, Colts, Commanders, Cardinals, Panthers, Bucks, Rams.
I got to tell you, I'm floored with your Browns. Like as we look at each other's lists, I'm a little surprised. That's bold to me. That is a bold pick. That is one where if they end up missing, that's pretty good.
If they end up making the playoffs, I'm wrong. Yeah.
No. I'm talking about if they're picking in the top 10 next year, then you were a soothsayer at that point.
That's a good term.
I mean,
Doesn't get used enough.
Deshaun Watson did not look good last year.
No.
He didn't.
He looked pretty bad.
I
Kareem Hunt, they lost him.
Yep.
I mean, they could bring him back, but he's a free agent.
they
So
could.
they're basically relying on a one-man game and Nick Chubb. It's kind of what they're based off of.
No,
Yeah.
I understand it. I think that is I'm impressed with the bold pick. Connor, what's your boldest pick, do you believe? Like your boldest statement?
Oh, man. I don't have any in this 9 that I really feel are that bold. It's pretty easy to see some teams that are going to be out.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe I look at Atlanta and the Bucks because that division's kind of open, but I think the Saints are good enough. I don't know, man. There's just a lot of really bad teams.
I think the Falcons may surprise as far as just sticking around, but I don't see them being like I think that's a bad division. Still a bad division.
You don't think all 4 teams in the NFC East are making the playoffs, do you?
Not necessarily. Next week I'll have 9 more.
Yeah, John
But I got to tell you right now, I will give you a little hint, a little tease. I think Washington has a chance to be considerably better. I love Washington's defense so much that I think the Eagles could be in a division where 3 of the top 10 defenses in football are in one division.
I think you like Sam Howell a lot more than the average person, too.
I would say yes. Is that yes? I've watched a lot of Sam Howell, and I do think that he could be. I always thought he could be a serviceable NFL quarterback, if not mid-range.
Yeah, I'm not trying to paint it as you think he's a Pro Bowler.
No, but I think he could be a mid. I think he could be a mid-level starter.
And I think he stinks.
Yeah,
So-
me too. I'm on the stink.
Everything I've seen out of like the Patriots, where you're going out there with Mac, and you're thinking you can win with Mac Jones. I'm going to tell you, I think Sam Howell has better almost everything than Mac Jones.
Well, I don't think either of them can win.
No, but I got you. But Mac Jones has been a 2-year start in the NFL. Really, I mean, for Bill Belichick and where I think Sam Howell's better at every single thing that Mac Jones does.
I hope you're wrong. But
I hope so too. No, I don't think
we'll
he's going to be. I don't think this is going to be their long-term solution. Like that they're going to go out there and that this is going to be some great thing. But Washington's defense is so good. I think it's a great young defense. I'm concerned about them. Slightly concerned. How about this? I could see the Giants being the last place team.
I could see that too.
And they made the playoffs last year.
But I could see both those teams winning like 6 games. So
yeah, they could to go to 9, or they could go to 9. They could go to 8. You never know. After the Giants won 9 last year, I'm not putting anything aside. If you played along, send your 9 teams on Twitter. Send them along and post them up, and we'll see what the public thinks. Because if you want to be up to public ridicule, Pat loves that. He thinks that that's one of the best things about social media is we get to be publicly ridiculed.
Not true at all. I don't like it.
Yes, sometimes it happens.
Makes me feel bad.
Sometimes it happens. The exercise of working backwards, though, I've always liked, Bob, is the idea of, and it's something I like the idea of working backwards, trying to figure out who's going to be the champion. Let's go from the bag and go, okay, who's the worst?
Oh.
Who's the worst?
Sometimes I would fill out my NCAA tournament bracket that way.
Is that how you did it?
Sometimes I did, just messing around, maybe at my second or third one, yeah.
Did you ever win like that?
I've never won at all anyway.
Wait. Your second or third bracket?
Yeah, if you're doing 2 or 3 brackets or whatever, you're in different things.
You're in different.
I'll just try a different way to go.
You wouldn't do 2 or 3 in the same one. Right?
No.
No. There's nothing worse than Bob Cooney 1 is in 3rd place. Bob Cooney 2 is in 6th place. That's BS.
Didn't do that.
Yeah, you don't do that. You got to have what Mike and Mike used to have the bracket of integrity. You got 1 bracket when you're contest. You shouldn't let the multiples in, right?
I usually just do 1 because if I do multiple ones,
you don't know who you're rooting for.
Yeah, I end up sitting there like, do I need this game? Do I not need this game? For me, it's kind of like taking practice swings in golf. I might as well just drop it and hit it. And for NCAA tournament, I might as well just do 1 and hope for the best.
Worst person in the office? First day of the pool, first weekend of the pool. I'm in second. I'm in first. Well, dude, it's about to break down. It is about to break down on you. We have Adam Schefter joining us coming up next. Schefty joins us as he'll be traveling tomorrow. Bob will find out where he's traveling. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. When you hear the words cancer research, what do you think of?
Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Appreciate you joining us during the 8 o'clock hour. A special day when we have Adam Schefter join us early. A day early because he's going to be traveling tomorrow. Bob's going to get to the bottom of it because Bob's the hard-hitting journalist on the show. And it's journalist versus journalist. You ask Adam Schefter a question, he could dodge I bet you he could dodge like the Matrix. Yeah, you could ask him a question, Bob, and Bob, try it. Find out where Adam's going, Bobby. We welcome Adam Schefter in on the Comcast Business Hotline, and we thank our friends at Landis Block and Concrete for bringing Adam to the show every week. So reporter versus reporter here, Bob. Get after Adam Schefter a little bit.
The reason you can't join us tomorrow, Adam, is because you're traveling. Where may you be traveling to?
Well, I mentioned last week, it's not a secret. I did say I was going out to Oxnard, California, to the camp of the Dallas Cowboys.
Nice.
You know what's great is my wife left some meat out on the counter for like 2 days and didn't refrigerate it. I'd like you to take it with you.
You got it. Just,
take it to the barbecue out there at Oxnard. Why do they do that, Adam? Why do they want to take it out there?
I think when teams go away, it's a little bit of a bonding experience as opposed to the end of the night. You know, people go in their own ways, their own houses, their families. When you're away, like I remember when I covered the Denver Broncos for, a decade and a half, and every summer we would go to Greeley, Colorado, the University of Northern Colorado, where I believe Ed McCaffrey is now the head football coach of that college. And it would be about, 75 miles away from Denver. And I'd be there 3 weeks. And it was a little bit like going to overnight camp as a kid. You'd be there. There's nothing else there except, the team and work. That's it. And I think that's probably this day and age's version of that. You go away, and I think in their own mind, they're limiting distractions. They're building team camaraderie and chemistry. And those are the hopes and ideas that you have of going away to a camp like that. Plus, not to mention, you don't abuse your own fields, which is important to these teams sometimes. It's
just interesting to me because it hasn't paid off for them. So, like the Eagles, you know what I mean? It's never done. Where the Eagles keep things right in their own facility, let the guys go home to their own beds, their families, and everything like that. I wonder.
And it's worked out pretty well so far.
It has. It certainly has. I like the strategy. I don't think that young families being apart is a good thing. And I think that it also, I just think for your mindset, you get to go home, you get to sort of lead a more normal life.
You know what? When I was a younger single guy, I dreaded and loved being there because, like I said, there was nothing else but work. They would feed me 3 meals a day. I didn't have to think about anything else other than transcribing tape and, writing stories. And that was your life. And building relationships. It's a different day and age. That type of world that I lived in, covering a football, doesn't even exist anymore. You can't be that close with the players and coaches and front office members because they don't let you get that close anymore. I don't think.
No.
If there's a team that does it differently, let me know. But, I remember going there, like I said, I'd have all the meals. And the story that I love to tell is, you're at a training table with these players, and so I would love to go in and see what they were making every day food-wise. I remember walking in one day, and the dessert table had these giant health cookies, and I'm thinking, well, what's better than giant health cookies, right? Like, I love cookies, and I love healthy, so I ate this cookie. It was so good that I had another giant health cookie, and after I finished my second giant health cookie, I went over to Hal Brown, the director of dining services at the University of Northern Colorado. I said, Hal, those giant health cookies were about as delicious as anything I've ever eaten. Could I please get the recipe for the giant health cookies? And he goes, health cookies? Heath cookies.
Oh, they were Heath bar.
Somebody put an extra L in the Heath and made it a health cookie as opposed to a Heath cookie.
That's like the best cookie I ever had, which is great.
Shefty, when you go into a Cowboys camp, as you're going to do, what are some of your first thoughts, first questions, first things that you want to approach them about as far as what's been going on this offseason in camp and moving forward?
Well, here's the great part, Bob. I'm not going like that. And you're saying, well, what is that? Well, every year, for the last couple of years, ESPN last year had this mentalist, O's the Mentalist. And I don't know if anybody got to see any of the features that ran on.
He is incredible.
Okay. Well, O's the Mentalist, and I could say this now. On Sunday, I went to pick him up at his apartment, and I took him out to the Jets complex on Sunday night, and Hard Knocks filmed him. And they're going to, they'll play some of that a week from tonight because it was past their editing deadline for the opening show. And so what happened is I was driving back with O's on Sunday night. We were talking, hey, it's a true story, but basically my brother-in-law's company used to hire him for $600 for their holiday parties back in 2008, 9, 10.
Okay.
And my wife saw him, and then she had him at a birthday party for my son. And then when I turned 50, always performed at my 50th. And then my daughter had a party last year, and always was there. And the ESPN bosses saw him. When they saw him at my daughter's birthday, they're like, we got to get this guy out to NFL teams. So I took him around last year to a couple of teams. And this year I kind of arranged his whole schedule. And he and Stephen Jones interacted at some business conference in Kiawah Island, and the Cowboys wanted him. And so I kind of arranged it all. So I'm going with O's over the next 3 days to 4 different places. And we're starting in Dallas. So I'm not going there like with a notebook and a camera to record or ask probing questions. But you're around them all day. And so I'm sure I'll get to talk to them about their team. That of course, will happen. But I'm not going in there with any ideas like that, Bob. I'm going there to kind of facilitate the whole O's appearance for a piece that'll run on Sunday Countdown at some point this season.
What did the linebacker acquisitions for Howie Roseman this week mean? Is it a safety net for Nicobe Dean due to injury, or is it a safety net of that room needs a little backup in, I guess, experience?
That's what I think it was more than anything else. They're always looking for depth. They're such an incredibly deep roster. When we were talking last week, you said to me, right, what was the splash move they're going to make? And I said they're going to look at linebacker.
You did. I thought it would be safety.
Right. And I thought they'd sign a linebacker. I didn't realize it would be 2 linebackers. I thought they were kind of looking around out there for a linebacker, and then they add 2 linebackers who have been pretty productive. And so I just think this team is always looking like, every team is, but they really do a good job of it. And if you go back to last year, they got a little thin in the defensive line, and on the same day they signed Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph. And I think that this is the 2023 version of what they went through last year at defensive tackle at linebacker. Yeah, okay, we could use a little help. We could use a little depth. Here's 2 good guys who are still on the street. Neither one of them is going to break the bank. Let's go bring them in and get it done. And that's exactly what they did. And it's exactly what they do.
Schefter, with Josh Richardson and company taking over the Washington Commanders, it's an uplifting thing for their fans. We saw the reaction, all of that. Do you see it equating to the field immediately? Do you think this is something that's going to take some time? How do you think this will play out for on the field purposes?
I think that there'll be a direct impact right away. I almost feel like there's been a cloud lifted. And it's going to take them a while to do all the things that they want to get done. I think eventually, there's no question in my mind, they're going to change the name. They're going to move the stadium. They're going to bring in their own employees and personnel. They're going to do all these things. It's going to move at the pace that they want it to move at. And it may not be in a month or a year, maybe 2 years, but I would imagine, 2-3 years from now, you'll see an organization in every which way that you probably wouldn't even recognize. It's just, you're not spending $6.05 billion and saying, boy, what Dan Snyder had in place here really works.
Any chance that they would go back to the Redskins? I think the fan base would right now, if they gave everybody a vote, the fan base would overwhelmingly vote for the Redskins to come back.
The funny thing is, I remember when I would talk to people about that, and the people within the organization would tell me all the time, like 90% of the fan base wants that name.
Yes,
they would insist to me, and in the day and age that we're living in, it just didn't feel right, though.
We went last year with Philly Sports Trips, and we had a giant Eagles tailgate lot set up.
Yep.
Walking between that lot and getting to the stadium, we were counting. We passed 14 tailgates that had Washington Redskins up.
Yeah,
Redskins flags, Redskins. They refused to join the Commanders thing.
I got to tell you something. I like Washington football team way more than I like Commanders. But here's what I think. I personally think that they're going to move on in every which way from the previous regime. So, I mean, they could go back to Redskins because, Dan didn't come up with that name. He took over the name, and they could go back to their roots.
Sure.
What was it? Was there a name of the franchise before Redskins? Were they ever anything before that?
I do not believe so. But I like the red. Like they had Red Tails. They had looked at some things. Egan, what was another one? There was like Red Tails. There was
the Red Wolves.
Red Wolves. Like they had some other options, but I believe the fan base wants to go back because I think they were. I think they were bullied into making that move.
I'd be shocked if Commanders is the long-term name. Shocked.
Can't do it. Yeah, you can't. No. Yeah, you can't have the Commanders.
But
right.
Josh Harris just bought the team recently. Like you can't go make a name change in July and all. You just can't do it.
Schefter,
it takes months and months of planning and marketing and all that.
Yeah. Have the Eagles set a precedent as far as resting regulars during the preseason? Now, we know a lot of teams do it or whatever, but the Eagles don't really play any starters when it comes to preseason games. Is that more common around the league than I'm seeing? I don't really watch all the games, but is that kind of a copycat thing that's going on now?
Well, I think that's gone on for a while. I think Sean McVay took it to another level, where he would like literally shut down everybody, and different coaches have come on with different approaches. Nick Sirianni has his own. I don't think he is, no disrespect, like some revolutionary guy in this area. I mean, this has been going on, across time. It's just every coach has his own ideas of what works and what doesn't work. And there are coaches who say, well, we want to get our guys some reps until the guy gets hurt. And then you say, well, there are coaches who don't want to get their guys any reps, and then the guy gets hurt on opening day. And the fact of the matter is, I don't know that anybody knows what is the actual right thing and the wrong thing to do. You just go with what has worked for you, what feels right. And that happens to be Nick's approach.
And I think Sean's abandoned that this year. He's going to he's actually going to get into playing more of his players because he has, guys that have to, I guess, compete for spots, which is fun to see.
Well, you're going to be smart. Like, do I think we're going to see Cooper Kupp, even though he, strained his hamstring?
Right.
No. You're not sticking Cooper Kupp out there. Do I think Aaron Donald is going to play No, I don't. No. I'd be shocked if Aaron Donald played. So, maybe it works at wide receiver. You want to see Van Jefferson and Tutu Atwell. I mean, yeah, that could happen. But it's selective. And it's selective with every coach, and every coach handles it the way they want to handle it.
The right now when we've talked about it with you numerous times about that there's not a lot of, I guess, Eagles storylines out there as far as, because it's been that kind of camp. Do you find the teams that have quiet camps that many times you miss a story, you miss something? Because Bob and I are both very much on, everybody's just assuming that Nicobe Dean's going to be fine and they can plug him in. He's going to be great. I loved him in college. I'm one of his biggest fans, but I even have doubts. I mean, it seems that there's just an assumption that it'll all be right because it's the Eagles.
Well, I think they think it'll be right, but that's why you go out and get Miles Jack and Zach Cunningham.
Right.
It's not. You want to make those moves now, bring those guys in, have them on your system so that if there are any issues, you're covered there. So now they have the two veterans, and it works out well. And when you talk quiet camp is the best thing that you could have. Quiet camp means there's no players holding out, no one getting injured. Like that. When camps are not quiet, it's because something unwelcome is happening. Okay? And that's what you don't want.
I love how the Hassan Reddick story just died because it was something that the Philly media here tried to create into a controversy, and it just literally shriveled up on the vine.
Well, why is that? Why did it shrivel up?
Because I don't think that Hassan talked, and I think that the Eagles didn't talk, and I think that they will end up coming to something quietly. We had Jeff McClain on the other day, and Jeff was like, watch it end up being like they'll give him some incentives, they'll toss a few things his way, and Jeff's very tuned in. But it just didn't go anywhere. They stopped it, and a lot of it was a big topic for around that 24 hours where people were like, uh-oh, is he disgruntled? And it's obvious that Hassan just goes about his business.
Well, to me, like one of the biggest stories in the NFL, maybe the biggest this summer, is Jonathan Taylor. What's going to happen there? And it was so public that it just creates a certain environment around your team. You're trying to break in a first-round draft pick at quarterback. You're breaking in a new head coach in Shane Steichen that your area knows quite well. And now every day it's about Jonathan Taylor, right? Now, that could have happened quietly, but the owner spoke out, the agent spoke out, everybody spoke out. And, listen, it's great for my business, but the best thing for their business is to keep that behind closed doors.
Schefter, you coming to Philly for training camp here? If you told us before, I don't remember. I wasn't here.
My trip is this week. I'm taking O's around. That's kind of my trip. And I don't have any other plans.
Well, you'll be here during the season.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the Eagles play a Monday night game.
No, they do, don't they?
In Philadelphia, I don't think so.
Oh, it's because they play. Yeah, you're right. They play at the Bucks on a Monday night. They play at the Chiefs.
We'll be there for the Monday night game in the Bucks.
I mean, Pat will be there. Bob will be there. You guys can hang out on the beach together.
Yeah, there you go. So, well, I even think the game against Tampa is like the second or third week.
The 25th. Yes, third week.
Part of a doubleheader. So when there are doubleheaders like that, they usually put the pregame show in studio so they can just bounce us before each.
Oh, okay.
Do you just not want to hang out with us, Shefty? I understand.
I love hanging out with you guys. I will be with the Eagles in Kansas City this year. That's my that's the next thing. Although I did think, I'm like, you know what? I've seen a few people show up there. I'm like, I should drive down there for a day just to kind of go hang out. Like that would be a fun thing to do. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm gone this week, and then next week I have to go to ESPN, and I have to take my daughter to Jets camp next Wednesday for Nickelodeon stuff. And so really next week is not really feasible. And then we're in the next week where, like, I don't even think that they allow media at certain points, and they're into roster cuts. It's like, it's not the same thing.
Now, did you hear who's coming to our Fan Fest?
Who?
Fall Out Boy.
Fall Out Boy, wow.
Fall Out Boy is the musical act, and Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles is our special guest.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, I'd say it's pretty good. It's going to be great.
Maybe one year we'll get Adam Schefter there.
Well, it's tough on a Saturday for him, unless we get him the Schefter copter.
One year you will get me there.
All right, good.
We will get that done. I don't know what year it'll be, but it will get done.
Hey, by the way, too, just one thing you mentioned in passing there. Your daughter's going to have to be on her A game. Super Bowl Sunday, a Nickelodeon broadcast. Pat, you were raving about this the other day. Pat was talking about this the other day. It's a great idea. It really is.
It's yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that all plays out. They've not made an official decision nor announcement on who will be working that Sunday, but hopefully she'll be included, and we'll see.
It should be good. Thanks, Schefty. We appreciate you. Travel safely, buddy.
Have a great week. We'll talk to you next Wednesday. Look forward to it. Thanks for accommodating me today.
No, we appreciate you making the accommodation for us. Thank you, buddy. Hey, it's Landis Block and Concrete. They're absolutely awesome. Go to landisbc.com. And I promise you, they'll take great care of you. Go see their showroom in Souderton, Pennsylvania. They bring you Adam Schefter every single week here on the show, which is great. I love the quiet camp, and I saw you nod your head, Bob. A quiet camp is the best camp. And I saw you nod when Schefty said it. Like in your head, you're like, yep, I've covered enough of these. The quiet camp's what you want.
Yeah, it's kind of like there's nothing to see here. Why are you coming? You know, you map out things in the preseason. I talk about this often, and Schefter's lucky enough he can map out where he wants to go. And now he has this different adventure that he's doing. But he can map out where he wants to go because he wants to find interesting things. Not that the Eagles aren't interesting, but it is. It's one of those, nothing to see here, Camps. You know who we are. We know who we are. Unless anything major happens, we're really not of interest to anybody.
It is pretty good, and it was great to have Jeff McClain come on by the other day for our open house show. That was really interesting because I went back and watched also Jeff's. Fran Dunphy, obviously Taryn was with us, and we were able to have Jen come in too. It was really fun to hear. Jeff McClain it's almost like a dissection with him, like he's dissecting the frog, like he knew exactly, like with every single story. And I look at his answer on the Hassan Reddick thing is this is being handled behind the scenes because it died. That story just died.
I don't think anybody was you said to Schefter, the media tried to make it controversial. He came out and said what he said. It was Reddick that came out and said, look, you guys see it. I'm not getting paid. And it was written what he said, and that was it.
I'm talking about more of what the radio shows for 24 hours to 36 hours were all Hassan Reddick. Do you pay Hassan Reddick? Is Hassan Reddick disgruntled? Is it and I didn't see it as a story. And Pat, you and I both thought it was a great answer.
Yeah, I did. I was kind of blown away the next day that
we didn't see a story in it, but it was Bob.
It was a story.
But Bob, it was every sports talk radio show.
They're not media, John. You're saying media is trying to give up, trying to drum up. I thought you were talking about the media that covers the team.
No. They were great. No, they were great with it.
I think it came and went because of what Jeff said. It's like, don't see anything here because they're so good. They'll handle it fine. It really has gotten to that point that Howie is so good that you're like, yeah, okay, a player came out and blurted that he's not getting paid well. It is kind of, I didn't hear all the talk. I don't listen I don't listen and watch and do everything. But I was surprised that it just came out and it went by because it was like, yeah, nothing to see here. It'll be taken care of. Everything's good. That's where this organization has gotten to.
And I do think it'll be taken care of.
I do. When Jeff said it, I think we all just looked in agreement and shook our head and said, you're probably right.
They tend to take care of their own.
Which is good. Make sure things are happy and make sure things are smooth sailing.
Especially a guy that took a little bit less money to come home.
Right.
And ends up producing the way that he did. It's hard for me to imagine that Howie Roseman, who likes to get ahead of markets, would go, no, we can't. Not in this instance.
I think they'd be glad
I just don't believe that would be the case.
Hey, I don't believe it either, Pat.
Thank you, Bob.
See that?
Look at us. We're simpatico.
Hey, if your basement or crawl space smells musty or you've got watermarks on the block walls, and you may have them after yesterday's deluge, you can need to get a completely free home inspection from the experts. Call BQ Basements and Concrete. Head this off before it's a problem, because the problem's only going to get worse in BQ Basements and Concrete. I bet you they're getting a lot of calls today from people who are going, yeah, it wasn't a great storm yesterday. Take care of this and do it before the winter. So, because the water can seep in when you have melting snow and things like that too. All right, coming up, Bob says we maybe misunderstood depth yesterday. It's a perception, right? Depth, perception. We'll get to it next. The 9 o'clock hour of the John Kincade Show will entertain
A Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Appreciate you being a part of the show. You may not always need a new water heater, but when you do, choose Bradford White, because Bradford White is always the best. And here for the pro, we appreciate them very, very much. And so, Bob, you had a night off last night. Well, we all did. Had the night off from baseball. Today we get the doubleheader. So I'm sure you use that for some really, really good television viewing, because there's some great stuff streaming right now. And sure you did that, right?
I did. Well,
you did or you didn't?
I don't want to say dirty laundry here. I'll just call it behind the scenes.
Okay.
So Egan comes up to me.
Let's air out our dirty laundry.
All right.
Well, not really, but
Laundry's got stains on it.
Okay. Egan comes up and starts yelling at me about something stupid at the break. And he's like, he was calling me like a sports freak or something, saying that's all I do.
There was no game last night. So
Oh, no.
What women's tiddlywinks match did you watch on ESPN 12?
Oh, I know
That's
what he
exactly how he put it.
I think I know what he watched.
What?
You didn't watch the girls playing softball in the Little League, did you?
Oh, no. I did watch a little bit of the boys' Little League.
Oh, gosh.
There
I
we
didn't
go.
see any girls
You're
softball
hard up
Little
for
League.
you're hard up for entertainment.
No, but what I watched fully was Tiger's six-pack.
What?
And it was a synopsis that had all six guys when Tiger Woods won, I guess, the USGA Junior Championships. He won 3 years in a row, and then he won the Amateur Championship 3 years in a row. It had all six players that he beat as like a 15, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old, all at a round table talking about their match against him.
When
it was pretty cool.
See, now I wouldn't, Pat, you got on about that. I'd watch that.
One of them was local guy, Buddy Marucci.
If I passed that, I think I'd watch that.
It was
Because it's a unique concept.
It's the that, but on top of, I watched a little bit of the Little League.
I knew he's going to watch something. I tell you this.
That's my point. Like Bob will watch
The Little League
14 U14 Quidditch because there's nothing else going on, so I watched a little bit of Quidditch.
Well, what else would like I you know what I tried to find and I couldn't because I don't think we have it or whatever was what's the Lakers thing? Winning Time?
Winning Time.
I was looking up Winning
HBO.
Time. I know, but I don't have HBO.
You don't have Max? It's now Max.
I don't know.
You probably do.
You probably have Max.
Probably. I went to look it up and it
Jenna's
said
cool.
now playing, and
you watched it
I'll
last
get it
year.
at some point. Yeah, I did.
Jenna's cool. She has Max. I guarantee you.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
She
you
can
gotta
get
ask
you
the
signed
kids.
on to Max.
Ask the kids to help you out.
They'll be able to
I know
help
how
you
to
out.
get on there.
I don't think you do.
I'm catching up, doing the next season, the second season of Lincoln Lawyer. So
I've heard it's very good.
Which I really enjoyed the first season. So now second season, getting started there. Did you hear who's replacing Shannon Sharp?
I did.
Nick Foles.
No, that'd be interesting. Richard Sherman is going to be Richard Sherman. Man,
I knew he was in the running. Very smart guy.
yeah,
Went to Stanford.
Yes, he did. He got absolutely the biggest free pass ever for criminal behavior that anyone's ever gotten. That I still can't even. It's like it's not even brought up, which shocks me. But Richard Sherman, smart guy. I think it'll be fun. I think he is a brilliant football discussion. When you hear him talk football, it's always a good level of discussion. And I wonder if that matches Skip Bayless. Like Skip Bayless is the exact opposite. He's low-hanging fruit. He is, let's find a hot take. Let's go something controversial. And Richard Sherman, to me, is a guy that when he discusses football, tends to do it at a pretty good cerebral level.
Level-headed, yeah. That's probably the yin and the yang that they're looking for, I guess. I couldn't do it. I can't sit there with somebody that just constantly gives hot takes all the time without really putting any thought into it. That bothers the crap out of me.
Yes, it does.
And I wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah,
That's like the second time that both of you guys have.
I know,
almost-
right?
I thought it was
just here
yesterday
having
with gentlemen.
conversation.
Get it
Yes.
together.
We're just shooting the.
Shut up.
Get
By
it-
the way,
get it
why
together.
do people shoot the? Like, I don't understand that thing. That expression. Like, did people in
Where did it come from, Pat?
where did shoot the?
I'm on it. I'm rocking
like,
a Bing.
Like, I mean, did I back in the Cowboy days? Did they shoot it instead of like? I don't know.
Maybe they had nothing to do and they saw a pile over there from one of the horses because those piles.
That's
get
what
big,
I wondered.
And they're like, "Hey, let's shoot the."
Like where they would like the dung discs when they sort of like and they dry up and everything. That maybe they use them in like target practice.
Could be.
All right. So according to Bing.com, which sent me to dictionary.com,
Okay.
shoot the bleep appears to be a variation of shoot the breeze. Both of these expressions mean to, we all know what it means. A form of shoot the breeze is recorded in a poem written during World War I by a U.S. private who described his corporals as sociable men who were much better at breeze shooting than fighting or doing actual work. It doesn't require much skill or effort to hit the wind with a gun, so the expression goes, shoot the...
That's interesting. That's very interesting. That's a good, and it seems like a good explanation.
It emerged in the 1940s, notably found in a letter by the author Norman Mailer.
Norman Mailer did that? Really?
The bleep here may be more intensive or substitutive. Yeah, basically, it just, we all know what it means, but that's the origins date back to, it went from shoot the breeze to shoot the bleep.
There you go. I want to know what Bob thinks about depth because he thinks maybe we had a misunderstanding yesterday.
Now, let's see what's in Cooney's corner.
So we talked about the linebacking core and the signings that they had in Miles Jack and Zach Cunningham and all. And I thought we kind of glossed over it a little too easy, saying, yeah, well, now they have depth and all. And then there's good depth there, whatever. Depth to me doesn't just come in numbers. I can go out and sign 4 guys that played high school quarterback and say, oh, look all the depth I have at quarterback. Or 4 guys that barely can play in the NFL anymore and say, oh, I got depth there. Are these 2 guys depth worthy?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yes.
Okay.
As far the Steelers' leading tackler last year, he absolutely is. He's more than competent in Miles Jack. He is more than competent. He is not just a spot filler on your roster. I do not think he is an impact player, though. And I had to go watch yesterday some Steelers stuff on him. He's making the logical tackle that is fed in his direction, and he's a good tackler. That's about it. He's not an impact player at all.
No, and I don't know if you're going to get that or whatever, but I don't know. To me, depth is something that, okay, I have a guy in there that can be, I have a multiple amount of guys in there that can be, like the Eagles have depth at running back. Yes. I think that DeAndre Swift can be a capable starter. I think that Penny could be a capable starter. When you have to plug in Boston Scott or a Gainwell, okay, they can carry the ball 10, 14 times a game and be capable for you. Is that how we're describing these guys then, Cunningham and Jack?
Where do you fit on that, Pat? I mean, I'm a little less on Cunningham because I just know him less.
I know him less too.
That's about it.
I think they're very serviceable backups. I think they're backups. They're literally what you're looking for in a backup, and a very good backup in every league. You're looking for a guy that has starter experience that won't crap himself when thrust into the job, and these guys have plenty of experience.
Better than Morrow.
Much better than Nicholas Morrow.
Both of them.
More expensive than Nicholas Morrow.
Yes.
But I really think it's just a depth move, and if one of these guys has to start, then the defense should be good enough where it's not that much of an issue. Like Kaiser White last year wasn't great, but it wasn't an issue because you're getting 70 sacks in your secondary. Your cornerbacks are shutting everybody down. So Kaiser White struggling in some years, that would have been like the highlight. And you would have been like, oh my God, this guy's terrible. But last year it wasn't really the case because of your pass rush. If the pass rush can I don't want to say duplicate what they did last year because that's not fair, but if they can get after the quarterback and make life a living hell for the opposing quarterback, then we're not even going to care about who's really starting. We're going to be looking at Nicobe Dean and hoping that he flourishes like TJ Edwards last year, but I feel like this defense, they really need one competent, good linebacker. Hopefully that can be Nicobe Dean.
Yeah, so you guys definitively say that these guys are better than Morrow. I know nothing. I'll be honest. I know nothing about Morrow.
Yeah, I don't know straight up.
No, I mean, the thing is that makes your case for it. You know nothing about Morrow.
I don't know anything about Miles Jack or Cunningham as far as watching them either. I can look up their stats.
No, but I mean, Miles Jack, though, is a guy who actually, you can look at a resume and go, okay, and you can look at video of him and go, okay, that he was able to, again, Steelers leading tackler last year, but I would say
Kaiser White was leading tackler the year before also
I would
for
say
Seattle, right?
Not yet, not an impact player. He's not. This isn't an impact signing, but it's more than just. He is a absolute competent backup. He is somebody who could absolutely help your team moving forward.
So you're making my point. You have to thrust a backup probably into a starting role.
Oh, I think Jack's going to be ahead of Morrow, but you were already going to put Morrow there, so you're putting a backup type of guy there anyway. I think I don't understand what they saw in Morrow, but I'm sure they studied him and they scouted him and thought it was a good move. That's who I believe will be cut.
They thought that was a good move. I don't know. I'm really this is going to get my eye for most of the preseason linebacker play.
Yeah, well, sure.
Because you're going to face a lot of good quarterbacks this year that are going to be able to pick apart anywhere they want to, if they decide to.
Okay.
And if their decision is to go after these Eagle linebackers, yeah, this is where my concern's coming in.
9 o'clock hour of the John Kincade Show is brought to you by The Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. And for details, go to Bagster.com. I'd like to thank Pat Egan.
You're welcome.
Again, what a kind guy he was the other day, taking his locks off, showing support. It meant the world to me. But then I want to tell you, Pat, you ruined part of my Monday yesterday.
Giveth and taketh away.
Because I did not, and I said it to you afterwards. I think I told you to F off.
Well, yeah, because I came in early Monday, and you looked way too happy.
And I think you
and
dragged.
I said we're going to slap that smile right off his face.
You dragged me down. I absolutely, whether it was just a lapse in my brain or not thinking about it, you then had to bring up Tyrese Maxey and Clutch Sports. And then I had to just do a simple Bing search, as you would do, yesterday on Tyrese Maxey and how many times somebody writes about him going to another team. How many times somebody just brings up Tyrese Maxey and Lakers. Tyrese Maxey. By the way, there's stuff out there. There's NBA people out there who think that Tyrese Maxey could be a guy down the line that goes on the move because he's not going to get his extension here yet, at least while James Harden's still on the roster. But you ruined my day yesterday a little bit about that because I had sort of never even considered that maybe Tyrese wouldn't want to be here long term. But then Bob brings up a great point yesterday. Maybe you don't want to, maybe if like you don't want to pay him as one of the elite stars of the game. And I've got to tell you, I would 100% believe that if this team falls short again, that next summer we're talking about Joel Embiid wanting out. 100%. There's too much smoke. NBA insiders talking about it. Guys with credibility writing about it or commenting on it. So I don't know where I'm at, but I do know I'm here. I don't want to see Joel Embiid leave. I don't want to see Tyrese Maxey leave. But if Joel Embiid did leave, there's no way Tyrese Maxey would want to stay. I don't believe.
Why not?
Just to be on a rebuilding team that's going to take 3 years.
The star.
Yeah, but you're on a rebuilding team that's not going to play for anything.
You're the star. You're 25 years old. You've been thrust into a position of, do we build around him? I don't think this is going to happen. I don't. Okay. I don't.
So you think Joel is? What does that mean, Joel? You think Joel's?
I don't know. You know me. I don't like looking past what this. I'll look at the year coming up and how they're going to handle that. I think if I was the GM, it's still a prove-it year for Tyrese Maxey. And I love Tyrese Maxey, and I love where he's at. It's an interesting position now because you're probably not going to have Harden here. You're not going to maybe not have Tobias Harris here. Okay, how do you build it? The age-old question, how do you build around Joel Embiid? Is Tyrese Maxey the type of guy, not a superstar, not the guy that you're overpaying or, has to be a Harden top 75, whatever it may be. Maybe he's just the mover, the shooter, the get all over the court kind of guy that you say, oh, man, we need more of them to surround Joel Embiid with.
You think Nick Nurse might be saying that?
Could be. There was a clip. Did you guys see the clip on Twitter yesterday of a Sixers offensive possession that ended with a Tobias Harris 3 in the left corner?
I did not.
And it was unbelievable ball movement, and it was Maxey, Harden, Embiid, Tobias Harris. Not sure who the fifth guy on the floor was. Sixers brought the ball past midcourt and just passed and moved, passed and moved, passed and moved. It was a thing of beauty and ended with Tobias Harris wide open in the left-hand corner and banging a three. And all I could think of was that I wonder if that's Nick Nurse's offense right there. If that's what he's looking to do. It was Maxey passing the ball, cutting through the lane. Nobody stood still. It was
that's one thing we know is going to be Nick Nurse.
That's what you
he does
want.
Not like the standing around,
right? So
which is Harden and Embiid,
right? So
do a lot of
so
that.
Who doesn't do that? Tyrese Maxey. When he's at his best, he doesn't. So maybe, just maybe, if these other parts moving on, Nick Nurse and Daryl Morey are looking for other players in the form of Tyrese Maxey, where they're at their best when they're on the move. So maybe that's what you surround Joel Embiid with. And maybe that's what puts Tyrese Maxey in a really good spot.
Okay, it's not bad. I can't imagine that Tyrese would want to be part of a rebuild, though, Pat. I mean, this is a guy who had his choice reportedly of like 25 colleges, but chose to play for Kentucky. And I don't see him saying, yeah, you know it would be great? Spending the 3 or 4 years of my prime with a team is playing for nothing.
I'll be honest, real quick, Pat. Not to interrupt. I don't think that thought's even crossed his mind.
I don't think so either. I mean,
No.
he's 22 years old, so if the rebuild takes 4 years, he's 26. If it takes 5 years, he's 27. If it takes 6 years, he's 28 years old. That's really the prime of his career. His career is just kind of kicking off. I mean, if he was a senior, he would have been coming out this year in college. So I don't think he's thinking about that. He's probably thinking more in line of what Bob talked about of, all right, I'm the man now. I'm the face of the franchise. This is my team to take over. Let's see how far I can take it.
I don't think you can build a championship team where he's the guy.
I don't think so either. I agree with you.
As long as he's part of a triumvirate, I'm fine with it. But I don't think you can build a team around
Tyrese
him.
Maxey's in a gym right now trying to get Tyrese Maxey better and trying to get to be the best player he can be. I swear to God, I don't think he's looking anywhere past that. Oh, what happens if we don't win next year? Is Joel going to take off? Where am I? Nah.
Do you don't think these guys, though, with as he's working out?
Not at 22, no.
No, but do you think he wonders and goes, is James going to be here?
Oh, of course
Am
you
I
do. You
playing
wonder
with,
who your
as far as
teammates are.
is how does my role change? What do I got to work on if James is gone? What do I if James is gone? Is he going to just take up James's role? I mean,
Sure, he thinks about that, and I'm sure coaches and general manager have talked to him about that. But that's this year, the immediate year, and we need you to get better. Work on this. They gave him on exit day last year. They gave him a folder that said, "Here's what we want you to work on. Here's how many hours a day we want you to do it. Specifically this, specifically that. Whether it's bringing the ball up the court left-handed and throwing that left-handed long pass to the baseline.
It's that specific.
Oh yeah.
You're talking about how many hours a day they want you to do it?
Well, yeah.
Type of thing is that
I want you to get up 1,000 shots, pump faking from the top of the key, and then taking 2 dribbles to your left and shooting. We want you to do that 1,000 times. Sure.
What do they do if you when you travel? Do these guys they take some time off, or do they try to find a place to still get it in while they're out there? This is fascinating to me.
Oh yeah, most players try. Well, we've seen it. We've seen the Ben Simmons video of him being out in California and finding a gym, and Joel Embiid going to other players and working out with them. Yeah, they find gyms. That's a good thing about being an NBA player. Hey, I'm going to be in Santa Monica this week. Santa Monica High School. Get in touch with them and make sure their gym's open for me from 10 to 2. It happens.
Good.
Yeah, it happens. I've been in Santa Monica gym a lot of times when players go there. Yeah, but when you're on the road, players will get in touch with assistant coaches or whoever, and they'll say, I want to go shoot by myself for 45 minutes to an hour. They'll make phone calls, and they'll find a place to go.
Pat, why you're a cinephile? Why is Santa Monica High School famous? It's not for their gym.
Oh, I would go with, if I had total guess, Fast Times.
No, but good guess because you knew it had to have something to that. Bob, do you know Santa Monica High?
Is it Greece?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's Rydell High. It is from Greece. So that is it's
interesting.
It's been remodeled a little bit, on the outside, but it is Santa Monica High. Good
it's a whole few blocks from the beach, so it's
pretty
not a
good
bad
life.
place.
It wasn't a John Hughes movie because he filmed all of his in the same abandoned school.
Did he really?
Yeah, there's a really good docu-series on Netflix called "The Movies That Made Us," and they go into a movie that is a classic, and they'll go into exactly how it got made. And one of the ones was Home Alone, and they talked about how John Hughes filmed everything in Chicago, and there was one like abandoned school in Chicago that he would film everything at. So he'd film like the Ferris Bueller, and he filmed Pretty in Pink, and they all use the exact
same high school, eh? M. Night Shyamalan just bought a large parcel of land out in our neck of the woods, giant parcel, it's an estate, and he bought it, and a lot of speculation that he will bring a movie making to the property.
His style now is pretty smart. So he now will make the movie himself, and then he'll sell it to the movie company. But that is why you see nowadays with M. Night Shyamalan, a lot of his stuff is primarily in one location.
Okay,
he's not moving a lot. So prime example with that would be like Knock at the Cabin. It was primarily in a cabin.
Is that worth it, by the way?
No.
Okay, good.
Cool idea. Just the execution wasn't great, and I love M. Night. But his TV show on Apple, Servant, was basically in an apartment in Center City.
Is this like one camera stuff or multiple?
Yeah,
camera
stuff? It's primarily one, and it looks like it's definitely his style. But he's not moving a bunch of different locations because he's trying to keep it as cheap as possible.
That's
and then
brilliant.
He sells it off. Yeah, it's really smart. So even if a movie doesn't do all that well in the theater, he's already made a ton of money off of it.
Well, he's going to bring he's bringing obviously something to Chester County.
Big Sixers fan.
Yes. So maybe he could do the process where someone starts.
That'd be a scary movie.
Maybe a serial. Yes, I think it's been extremely scary. Does it
have a happy ending though?
I think it's a horror show.
No.
I think it's been a bit of a horror show.
The ending is me crying in the corner while wishing it was all a dream.
I mean,
no,
wait a minute though. Think of it. If M. Night Shyamalan did a movie on the process, what would be like the plot? Would it be that
an entire fan base was duped into thinking they had a shot of getting out of the second round?
Well, that would be the reality show on it. That would be what would happen in reality. I'm wondering, would it be Sam Hinkie was a saboteur? Could it be that?
He was an incel sleeper.
I'm just thinking. He's like, no, I'm just trying to think.
Something tells me Sam Hinkie. Actually, Sam Hinkie might be a good like spy.
Yeah, Sam Hinkie would be a great story like that.
Who plays Sam Hinkie?
James Earl Jones.
That'd be perfect casting. That's perfect typecasting for James Earl Jones. Who would play him?
Who plays Sam Hinkie? Good question. I'd have a better answer.
The guy from Jeopardy.
Ken Jennings?
Yeah, if he was an actor.
He's definitely not.
But he could play Sam Hinkie. They're both got that same nerdly look.
Oh, what's the guy? Cusack.
John Cusack. Young John Cusack.
Yeah.
Maybe Michael Cera.
That's not a bad one either.
Not a huge Michael Cera fan,
no,
but he's got the mannerisms.
So M. Night putting this big property out there, getting this big property out there, Pat, I think we could get into a movie, too.
Maybe I've been in a movie. I'm good.
What were you in?
I was an extra in Creed.
Oh, yeah, we're extra in Creed.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I'm good.
You wouldn't want to be in one M. Night movie where you could maybe get murdered or something?
Lines, yeah, it'd be cool, but
what about getting murdered?
I'd be murdered in an M. Night movie.
That'd be
He's
fun
one of
to
my
get
favorite
murdered.
Directors and movie creators. I haven't always liked all of his stuff, but
the only one that I didn't like was that beach movie.
Old, yeah.
And I said to you, and you warned me.
Yeah,
going
he didn't write
in
that one. He based off of a graphic novel, but
I was like, oh, jeez, that was one. But the thing is, they can't all be home runs.
Yeah, he goes so outside the box that eventually, and I think Jordan Peele falls in the same category. Eventually, you make a movie where it's a dud,
and it happens.
And when you're trying to be that creative all the time,
like sometimes you do shakeisms.
Correct.
It happens. Like,
they're doing it in Minnesota right now.
Even brilliant genius people will sometimes that'll happen.
I had Minnesota call me actually and ask me to come on a show.
Yeah, Slingo and Sid are doing it at 670 The Score.
Yes,
I'm doing it right now. It's a hit in Minnesota. It's
I
not
guarantee
a hit
it's a hit. So
they can't stop talking about shakeisms.
By the way, I would like to thank the Stewarts for sending me today's hat, which I appreciate. I cannot live up to the title of the GOAT, but I think the GOAT hat is a very cool. It's a cool looking hat.
That's what it is. I don't have my contacts today, so I can barely see.
And I'd like to thank the Stewarts. And I appreciate that very, very much. And it really is a I can't live up to the GOAT. Now, is this one curled better, Bob? I tried to do what you did.
Yeah, it's not bad. Look,
okay.
I'll show you a little trick. I'll show it to the YouTube people too. To get the proper curve on your hat on the brim.
Okay.
Not a bad idea is that you fold it to where it's supposed to be, and then you tuck it into the back,
and then you
let
snap
it sit
it
for
in
a
tight.
little while. Yeah,
and then you snap it in tight.
Yeah.
See all these great little. That's almost like breaking in a new glove.
Kind of. Yes.
Where my dad put shaving cream and rubber bands on the glove. So we put the Barbasol or whatever it was, like the white shaving cream on the brand new glove, and then these rubber bands. He delivered newspapers, and then you rubber band it, and then you put it under the mattress and slept on it.
Yeah, we didn't do shaving cream under the mattress. That would have been stinky. But we did oil.
You did oil.
Yeah, we did oil inside the glove, and then put a baseball in it, and then wrap it.
And wrap it all up. I forgot the baseball part.
Yeah.
All these things to make it go.
All those fun things.
There it is. Thank you very much to the Stewarts, though. I appreciate it. All right, we have a lot coming up. We're going to try to jam some things in before the end of the show, and including memories. Sometimes they're beautiful. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. A big season is ahead for your Birds. Don't we all know it? It's coming. It's going to be a big
the Fanatic app, and now on Odyssey. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show on a Tuesday morning. Seems like afternoon. It's going to be a great, great day out there. It's supposed to be beautiful. And they were talking about how low the humidity is going to be today. When we came in this morning, the humidity was awful.
The dew point was high this morning, John.
It was terrible, Pat. I couldn't get that balance we talked about last week. I was telling Bob, we discussed that when you can't get the fog off, it kept happening this morning. And I don't know what to do. I'm terrible with that.
So
He's talking about his windshield.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. Both of us complained a little bit about this.
I always end up matching the temperature outside.
Good idea.
Blasting it at full speed.
Okay.
And then after about 2 minutes or so, that usually ends up working out. If it's warm outside, you're warm in the car, and let's say it's 82, I would put it at 82, but I'd roll my windows down just so I'm not sweating myself out. But usually after 2 minutes, if you put it on, match exactly the temperature outside, usually that works for me.
That's next level.
You could crack your window also.
I did do that, and it wasn't.
That doesn't work for me.
Yeah, it doesn't. It didn't really work. It really didn't work. It's strange. It's one of those little hacks that I guess some people figure out the exact way to be able to do that or to make that work. Dominion National offers dental and vision plans for everybody, starting under $8 a month at teethkeepersave.com. So go to teethkeepersave.com and get yourself enrolled today. Eric Bieniemy having some problems down in Washington already. Brand new offensive coordinator and a group of veteran players had to go to Ron Rivera to talk about how he talks to them. That Eric Bieniemy, I guess he's a screamer and a yeller. And a bunch of the veteran leadership corps had to go to Ron Rivera and have some personal conversations about how he's addressing them, how he's going about his business. And I guess it's turning off a lot of veterans. Now, you could look at the story a lot of ways. I mean, you could say, hey, it's maybe it's players being soft on a franchise that has done nothing in a long time. So maybe Eric Bieniemy is exactly what they need. Or I could tell you, if I work for a screamer and yeller, it's never going to be effective. Somebody raises their voice and starts just yelling at me, immediately my ears go to turn off mode. Turn off, not hearing you.
Is that why you check out in our meetings with Chuck?
Yeah, when Chuck starts screaming at us and throwing stuff,
it gets awkward.
I'm just not doing it. I am not doing that. And I was raised by a guy who did that, who was a yeller, and I didn't like it. And it just is, that's where my ears turn off. You're yelling at me, I'm not listening.
Well, it's weird because if he comes from the Andy Reid tree, you wouldn't think that would be prominent in an Andy Reid run organization.
It's bad.
A guy that's screaming and hollering in your face, from what they're alluding to, I guess.
Not speaking to them as one guy is not speaking to them like grown men. Maybe the way you judge. Maybe it's an organization that needs this kick in the ass.
It could be. There could be a side to both stories. I don't know. Weird that after 1 week, this is the complaint coming out already.
Well, I mean, they've had OTAs and everything too. So I mean, maybe in OTAs it's that, and maybe it's just Bieniemy getting used to a different role in a different organization, and maybe Ron Rivera's an old school guy. Maybe he's different. Maybe he said, start rattling some cages.
Yeah, two coaches in Rivera and Reid, where you would think it's a very calm organization, one that's run properly, whatever proper may be, but you don't think guys that would put up with screaming and hollering and yelling because they're not that. I don't know. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on that.
I think it'll be it's a guy who didn't get his opportunity for a long time. And I just think that's a bumpy start when people in the room are like, I don't like the way he even addresses me.
Well, it might,
and they could be soft, Pat.
That might be it. I mean, it might be a situation of Eric Bieniemy coming in from a winning organization in Kansas City, knowing how it's supposed to be done over there to be successful. He comes into Washington. It's the exact opposite. He starts screaming and yelling for them to follow his way because he feels like where he just came from, it would have some cachet, and the players don't really care. It kind of reminds me a little bit of what happened with Russell Wilson.
Okay.
It's like his way of doing things didn't carry over to Denver just because he had won previously.
Yes.
And they were like, yeah, we don't really care about that.
We want you to win here.
Exactly. And ultimately, if he screams and yells and they end up winning games, then the players won't
buy
really
in.
care because winning cures all.
Beat them down to build them up.
I love seeing it, though, in camp. I love seeing it in camp that stuff goes on. That's where quiet camp, noisy camp. You don't want that. You would hate that if you heard that right now about Sean Desai. Sean Desai, the leadership council of the Eagles went to, Nick Sirianni and complained about him. We would be like, oh, wow, that's a problem.
Yeah, because you're coming off of such a great year defensively, right? And
that has not
a great
happened,
year
by the way.
altogether, right?
It's just
so it's kind of a different situation. I think Pat hit it on the head. You go there and you're expecting something, some form of professionalism, maybe, and I'm not saying this is the case, but maybe he goes in there and he's like, what in the holy hell is this? No wonder you guys suck so bad. You guys want to learn how to win championships? You're doing it my way. I've been there, done that. So I don't know. But Bieniemy, it's an interesting topic because he has moved on for the first time after many years of people thinking he was going to move on to become a head coach. If something weird goes on here, maybe you have your answer as to why he didn't become a head coach. I don't know.
It'll be a two with that. You look at that and you say, with Eric Bieniemy, the idea of, is it a Bill Belichick type situation too, where
the
assistant coaches all try to act like Billy Badass, but like they come in with the resume of going, hey, I worked for Bill Belichick. I worked for Andy Reid. The Andy Reid tree's been much better than the Belichick.
It has. In this situation, I think it's a little bit different because if you're a Washington player and you're getting yelled at by this guy, you might be going with what Bob talked about. I think Bob said it, is this guy just trying to do a power trip because he hasn't been a head coach yet? Because ultimately, he's not the head coach. So if you're a Washington player and you're listening to this guy yell and you've got Ron Rivera, who's been a player's coach for the majority of his career, you're going, yeah, that's cute, dude. You're not in charge.
Maybe, though, I'm thinking of this, too, theory, is maybe Ron Rivera says this is what I need and I've been because I am such a player's coach, that maybe what we're missing is a little bit of a disciplinarian. I'm just wondering about it because Bieniemy maybe is being brought in to cover the weaknesses of what
maybe
Ron Rivera brings.
Maybe he and Rivera sat down, had a talk, and said,
plan.
I'm good cop, you're bad cop.
Yeah.
Go for it.
And that's been done only 1 million times before.
Yeah, a little bit.
I hope it's a soft organization. I hope they have to clean house and rebuild for like 3 years.
That'd be cool.
Before they change their name, whatever it's going to be. Hey, in Cooney's Corner, Bob wants to talk about memories.
Now, let's see what's in Cooney's Corner.
Yeah, so I got a text from my sister last night, John. And my sister, Carol, who is 10 to 11 years older than me. And look what she sent me. I don't know if you can see that. It's a handwritten letter. She was in college. Bobby Cooney was 7 years old. So I wrote her a letter up at college just to tell her I miss her and what was going on in my life. And it is littered, and there's a second part to it. It is littered with sports things.
Hockey game.
Played a hockey game. I got a Flyers ring that I said I'll wear in good health. Talked
awesome.
about that she better watch the Super Bowl. And that I was hoping Pittsburgh would win because I believe they were playing the Cowboys, and I hated the Cowboys already. So it's just littered with saying I watched the Flyers play on Saturday. That's all the news I have. Sincerely, Bobby. That's how I ended it.
I love that.
But so my sister sent it. She goes, "Oh my God, I have tears rolling down my eyes reading this. Like, how cute is that?" And I sent back to her. I go, "My God, was I always a sports geek?" And she's like, "Yeah, ever since I knew you." But it has at the top of it, John, is the date that I wrote it. January 10th, 1974.
Okay.
It was about 5 months before the Flyers won their first Stanley Cup.
Won the first cup.
I think that's probably my biggest and first memory.
Is them winning the cup?
As a little kid is, my first Holy Communion. Going to Holy Communion that day.
It was Sunday afternoon when they won the cup.
Had my communion that morning. Went home, ripped off the shirt and tie as fast as we could, and we all sat down in front of the only TV we had in the house, and the whole party sat there and watched them win the Stanley Cup. And I remember going outside and we're all jumping up
Pots
and down.
and pans.
Going
routine?
crazy. But so I guess this just elicited, that was my first real big sports memory. What are your guys?
Going to the vet in 1973 or 2 with the Italian-American Club in Ardmore, which my uncles were involved with. The bus trip, it was my first time I got to go on the bus trip with the older guys. And so my cousins are all on the trip. So like Big Dan was probably like a high school kid sneaking beer. We went and saw, and it was Bat Day.
Oh, really?
And I believe Willie Montañez was the first baseman
Number
for the Phillies.
27.
I believe he was the first baseman on that day. But it was Bat Day, and I got a bat at the Phillies, which they gave you on the way into the stadium, which is the stupidest thing ever. Full-size wooden bat.
Yeah.
They never give it to you. Bob, I clutched that bat all day. I clutched that bat on the ride home. That was like the biggest thing in the world to me, to go to a baseball game with all the adults, with my cousins on the bus, my uncles on the bus. It was just a big deal. And people are drinking beer out of a keg. And it's like it was a world of, okay, this is how the adults do things.
Yeah, right.
And that's my earliest memory, going to there. And we had like upper level seats and everything. It was an amazing moment for me. And I remember that bat, and I had it till probably junior or senior year of high school. Pat, what about you?
So the one is, I think I might have been 4 or 5. Me and my mom were on a SEPTA bus. I saw a bald black man, and I said, "Look, Mommy, it's Charles Barkley." And she was mortified.
Oh, no.
Charles Barkley was my favorite player. So I was like, there he is. He's riding the bus with me. That's cool. That's a memory.
And it was not Charles.
It was not Charles Barkley, but the guy took it as a compliment. Luckily, Charles Barkley had moved on to Phoenix at that point. So that's when I was 4.
Okay.
And then most of them, though, have to do with like going to games with my dad. Phillies games, like when the vet pick your own section nights, when the teams were just dreadful. But the Rico Bronia hype video of him running through the Italian market, Mickey Morandini, and my favorite player being Scott Rowland back then. And
he was your favorite player, eh?
Oh, yeah. I was a big Rowland fan. I mean, at that point, like, it was
He
like
was a
Rowland,
right, he was a really hell of a player, right.
Those were the guys. So that would be it for me. But the obsession over Charles Barkley at a very early age, my dad had, and I think I've told this story, but my dad had a videotape of an old Sixers Trailblazers game, and that was my babysitter. So he would just put that in, and I'd be like mesmerized by Charles Barkley. Now, I don't remember that part of it, but it goes back to when I was 4. And hey, everybody's Charles Barkley all of a sudden.
You complained once about Jack, saying that when you were showing him highlights, that he was saying every player was Bryce Harper.
I mean, I was making fun of him for it.
Yeah, but you said, he's just like his father then.
Yeah, so my dad would, if he were here, he'd retell the story of everybody, no matter what position, what team, white or black. I was saying that was Charles Barkley. And my dad said, I'm not going to argue with a 2-year-old at the time, or 3-year-old, however old I was.
I've thought that many days in the show.
Yeah. So that it goes back to the obsession over
interesting.
At the point, like, he was my first favorite player, and then it kind of segued into being obsessed with a bad baseball team. But at that age, you don't know they're bad. You just know you're going to see a baseball game.
My first baseball game I remember also, only because, as I told you, we didn't have any money growing up. And I was probably about 8 years old, and we still had only black and white TV.
Okay, right.
And we went to a Phillies-Braves game at Veterans Stadium, and walking in and for the first time seeing the colors of the stadium, I mean, I remember backing up as we came out of the tunnel, like, oh my God, the turf is green, and I couldn't believe all the colors that were there.
1973 it was, by the way. Willie Montañez was the first baseman.
Oh, is that right?
And so I had a couple listeners sending me links here. Yep, 1973, Willie Montañez. I remember the first time going to a Flyers game, because we couldn't afford to go to Flyers games or anything like that, and the Flyers were my absolute favorite team. And I remember walking into the rink for the first time and going to warm-ups and trying to get a puck from a player. I mean, it's amazing. The first time in a stadium as a kid, if that doesn't stick with you, like nothing will.
Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing. Pat, first time in a stadium was what?
Oh, well.
Do you remember which stadium it was?
I was probably 3 months old. It was
okay. You were...
But I don't remember it. Phillies, Dodgers.
Oh, really?
But I was going to games.
So you went early.
Even though my family didn't have any money, I was going to at least a sporting event pretty regularly in terms of like once or twice a year. First Eagles game, I was like 13 or 14, and that was an away game to see them play the Giants.
Oh, wow.
That's the one team that I really haven't seen a ton just because it's so expensive. But that was the TO year where they were going to the Super Bowl and they clinched in November, and that was the game. They clinched that game that I was at in November, which was cool. But yeah, most of them have been Phillies games just because they're so cheap.
Bob took us down memory lane today. I like that.
How do you like that?
Hey, yeah. Connor, get in here. We need you for the topic we're going to discuss now, because it's something that Connor brought up yesterday, and he thinks that, we were talking about, wow, are we talking enough Eagles? Are we getting enough things in on the Eagles? But there was a topic regarding the Philadelphia Phillies that Connor was like,
You didn't beat him up about this negativity and about ruining your day with this.
No,
I get beat up.
But it brings up the idea that, and guess what? Better. Connor has the black card right now, too.
Yeah, you like him better. It's fine.
Is the idea that...
And you've always liked him better, Dad.
See that?
This is getting weird.
This is a little weird. That there is a topic with the Phillies that maybe we're not paying enough about, and it could end up being an Achilles heel.
Yes. When does Rodolfo Castro get his first start at shortstop? I say today.
Thank you. I've been wondering the same thing.
Go on. Yeah, we've been talking about that.
No, the Brandon Marsh injury is interesting to me. And it's funny. I didn't think about it a lot over the weekend either, because I think the Trey Turner thing was so overbearing. Not necessarily in a bad way. I think it was
overbearing.
But it took over the narrative of that series. And they won a couple games, and you're like, okay, we move on to the Nationals. But Brandon Marsh is expected to be out, 3 weeks with a knee contusion? It's not as bad of a case as it could have been, because that could have been worse if that had been like tendon or ligament or something like that. But it's still nearly a month where you're going to see your outfield be Johan Rojas in center, Jake Cave in left field when it's not Kyle Schwarber. And that's a downgrade. I like what I've seen from Rojas so far, but I don't know how ready I am to see him as an everyday center fielder of this team.
Well, it's an upgrade defensively. I think Rojas is a better defender.
I think he's got the potential to be a better defender. I think his ceiling as a defender is
better
higher.
Instincts. When the ball off the bat, he's got better instincts.
Yeah.
He knows where to go.
He's still a young player. He hasn't had enough time to make the mistakes that we've seen Brandon Marsh make. We could be saying in 2 weeks,
okay,
yeah, he's toolsy, he's athletic, faster, but he's going to make young player mistakes too. I don't think he's going to be a perfect defender. So I wonder how big you guys are worried about the drop-off being when we see Johan Rojas out there in center field. John, you sound like you're comfortable with him.
No, I'm not comfortable at the plate like I am at his offensive production is what I'm worried about. I think he's an upgrade over Marsh.
Okay.
In center field. I think he's a better instinctive center fielder, and I think he runs much smoother to me.
Yeah.
They both have wheels, but he just glides to the ball.
I got you.
He has to me, so I'm confident with that.
He plays a visually more pleasing outfield than Brandon Marsh. Brandon Marsh, you brought it up before. He plays like a football player.
He does, and he's a football guy.
But how about you guys?
Pad that freaking fence. Can we pad the fence?
Well, they did pad it.
Yeah, it is padded.
I'm talking about really padding. You can have a fence that's padded the whole way.
What do you want, to play in one of those insane rooms in a straitjacket?
Yeah. No, but I don't understand is why can't you have a padded fence? There's many baseball teams have padded fences.
Dude, that could have been like the nicest sofa in the world that he ran into. You run into it at that speed with the angle, it's going to be hard to avoid hurting something.
He hit metal.
I know he hit metal,
if he hit padded, it's not the same.
But it was the whole thing was padded. You can see the padding.
It's
padding. It's just.
Yeah, I don't think
we run into things that don't move. A lot of times it hurts.
Yeah.
Listen to Bob's column tomorrow.
I've run into
things that run into immovable objects.
The first thing I thought
John,
of was
run into Anthony as you're leaving and see what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah. First thing I thought of was offense, because I agree with you about the defense. I think Marsh, he's had some tough plays here, but Rojas hasn't had a chance as many times to show roughness. And let's not forget, Marsh is a veteran who, when you go to opposing outfields, that kind of comes into play. Knowing where you are, knowing how to read walls, different things like that.
Instinctively knowing where to go, yeah.
I like Rojas. I'm oddly okay with it. The left field thing is what you have to worry about. Now you can't have Cave out there and, well, I guess you can have Cave out there and then Schwarber DHs, then you have to have Harper at first. Harper at first gives you some diversity. And it allows you, I think, to get through this injury a little bit easier.
Okay, Pat, how are you feeling about it?
I kind of like it because I'm going to have to be forced to see more Rojas.
Huh.
And
Okay.
I do want to see him.
You want to see him to make cast judgments so you know what you
Yes,
got?
exactly.
Okay, good.
So I do like it in the sense of that. I think their schedule is easy enough where you should be able to survive the absence of Brandon Marsh in 2 to 3 weeks. But mainly, you're getting also a longer look at Christian Pache when he comes back, which is apparently he's close. So I would like to know what they have in Rojas. I'd like to have what they know in Pache because they might be going into next season with a really nice young core of outfielders. Also, I mean, I hate to say it, but like both Rojas and Pache are better fielders than Marsh. Marsh took a horrible route to that ball. He's not a good fielder. He's just quick. He's just really, really fast.
That's how I look at him too. And didn't the Phillies answer this for us though, Connor? When they decided to play Rojas and Marsh, Rojas was the one they put in center.
Yeah, yes.
They answered the question for us.
Like I said, I
Who's
think
the better
Rojas'
center
ceiling.
fielder?
I think his ceiling is higher as a defender, and I think the same about Christian Pache. But I don't think it's fair what Pat said that Marsh is not a good defender.
He's not. He takes horrible routes to the ball. He slides when he shouldn't. I've seen numerous
Balls
times
get
the ball
by
just
him.
go by him.
He's had at least
he's
3
not
or
a good
4.
fielder.
I still think he's an above-average outfielder in Major League Baseball.
I think he's fast.
Yeah, I think he's fair.
I think
and I
that's
think
what
he's
it is.
and I think he's been so good at the plate compared to what we thought we were getting.
Yeah, running down balls that normal speeded center fielders wouldn't get to. That's hard to chart. And I think that's where Connor's coming from. Yeah, you can just say he's fast.
Okay, but then what about all the balls that skip by him?
I hear you. And that's noticeable and all that.
It's been a lot.
It's just like running the extra base, taking the extra base. You don't really notice it. It's just, he got from first to third on a single. Wow, that's cool. Well, you notice when he gets thrown out.
It's a huge part of the position.
I noticed it in the World Series when it cost him a game. I mean,
it cost them. It
I'm
cost
never
them
going
a
to agree
game.
with this until all of a sudden he turns into, in my opinion, a competent fielder. But he takes horrible. I've said it 5 times now. Bad routes to the ball. His decision making's poor in the field. He's really fast
and great. The great energy of being a team.
Yeah,
I think he's got a lot of attributes, right?
I think he's probably best suited for left field, and as John pointed out, that's where the Phillies put him.
I think he'd be the left fielder of the future.
Okay, I'm good with that. I don't think it's fair to call him not an above-average outfielder.
Well, guess what I just did?
Well, I don't think it's fair.
I'm doubling up on that.
Like
above average? No.
So an average outfielder is who? Bryce Harper?
I haven't seen Bryce Harper play center.
You haven't seen him in center.
I mean, don't forget, we've often talked about how many times Marsh makes up for having Schwarber on one side and Castellanos on the other.
Speed.
So, right, I know.
Part
so
of the
that's
position.
part of, running down fly balls that other guys can't run down
He makes too many
is part of being, okay, I hear you about the mistakes. And other fielders that make mistakes also don't get the doubles in the gaps that he does get to.
Well, we're not even...
we can't overlook that either.
Yeah, but I think if you're going to say he's above average, I think I wouldn't go with. If you're telling me that I think he's good. I think he's good.
Yeah,
he makes bad decisions. Terrible decisions on ball.
We all make bad decisions every once in a while.
If you look at the route that he took when he got injured, it was not
terrible.
A good route.
Yeah, he has trouble with those ones over his head.
He breaks the wrong way a lot of times.
Yeah.
I'm not debating the criticism.
No,
I just
like
think
it,
if you look around baseball, you're going to say, I'll take Brandon Marsh over most of the outfielders.
But what if
Yes.
Most?
I don't know about most, dude.
What if you see Rojas the next few weeks and you say to yourself, oh my gosh, this is such a better, because I believe he will. He would say that is such a better defensive center field.
Pache, same
that's
thing.
good.
Pache's whole thing coming up was his glove.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say you've got a great defensive replacement for Nick Castellanos in the postseason because Brandon Marsh has the postseason experience that Johan Rojas doesn't have, and he has better offense than Jake Cave.
So you're going to take out Nick Castellanos?
Well, I mean, defensive replacement.
Defensive. He's saying defensive replacement.
Castellanos hasn't been bad this year.
He hasn't.
He's had a pretty good year, though.
But he's a below-average outfielder.
You're right.
So,
but he's been pretty good this year.
I think he's had less mistakes in the field than Brandon Marsh.
He has.
By far.
But he plays
this year. He plays an easier position. No, I got you.
He doesn't get the chance to make mistakes because he doesn't get close enough to the balls to make a decision.
Well, I would I would say I think at times like Brandon Marsh's speed at times is a hindrance because he's so quick that he thinks he can get to every ball. Whereas Castellanos will know his limitations, so he won't be diving for balls that he can't get to.
But that's not a hindrance. It makes it look like a hindrance.
This is an interesting debate. I
don't agree with you at all.
I do not. I would never.
I'm sure there's some nerdy chart that has.
I don't think he's above average.
How much Marsh has been able to get to a baseball and make a catch that looks normal that maybe an average speeded outfielder wouldn't have gotten to.
I can find another sabermetric stat that makes me right.
and I can find
Yeah, I mean, we
a
can
needle in a
or-
haystack.
Or
those
with, like,
sabermetric stats. You can work them in any way you want.
or you
Yeah,
could go
exactly.
create your own.
That's what I'm saying. I'll get in the
We'll
lab.
make the
as
Marsh
kids
You
say.
just really though. You bring up
it is an interesting point.
It's an interesting, like it is a little bit of a debate though because I will be very happy when Brandon Marsh is our left fielder.
Here's where we're not going to differ. Brandon
Okay.
Marsh, of the four guys, between him, Rojas, Cave, and Pache, is your best offensive option out of those
And
guys.
I want him
Yes.
a part of this franchise for a long time.
Exactly.
So you're right about that. I want him to be here.
I don't want him left field.
See, I want him to be the left fielder.
Why don't you want him in left field?
I don't know. I just old school. I need some pop in the outfield. And if I have him in left field and I don't know, Rojas in center, who I don't know is going to become a power hitter or whatever.
I don't think he's going to be a power hitter ever.
No, I mean, I need some power. This team right now, we see it. It doesn't have pop. And if you don't have it at third base, at first base, at left field, center field, yes, catcher.
Well, you have
You're
it
taking an
first
awful
with
lot
Harper.
away.
You have it at catcher for the position with Realmuto. You have
Well,
it at
that's
DH with
waning,
Schwarber.
though. That's what I'm
Now,
saying.
do you think Harper's going to be in the outfield next year, or do you think he's going to be at first base?
That's a Hoskins
Depends.
question.
Yeah.
That's a
I-
Hoskins
I
question.
think that's an
and-
old school mentality, though. Like we need the position. And this is what I heard about with moving Bone to first base. It's like, well, he can't move. Why can't he move to first base?
Because
he doesn't hit enough power. Like,
No, I hear you.
But if
Pop
he's
can
a
come
good
from
hitter,
anywhere.
it doesn't matter because he's going to get base hits, and hits lead to runs, and runs win games. So I don't care about that angle of it. If Brandon Marsh and Johan Rojas or Christian Pache, if they're the best outfielders, then put them out there.
Well, that's funny because that's all we said, over the last few years. That's all baseball is anymore. It's
Home runs.
Home runs. That's all analytics care about, launch angle home runs and all that. And
Didn't
now
do
we
the
don't
Phillies
care
well.
about it.
Phillies may
Because
not, though.
the Phillies. I mean, they
it was
tried
so
to buy
big
into
in the
that, and it
World
was
Series
horrible.
run last year.
The launch angle factor?
The home run
'Cause Kevin
factor.
Long,
Well,
it
the
seemed
home run
yeah,
factor
home
was a
run
big
factor,
part of
but
it.
Kevin Long got rid of the little launch angle mindset.
And believe me, I think that's what screwed up. I think that's why Trey Turner screwed up.
I think it screwed up Hoskins for a bit there.
I think it screwed up Trey Turner. This
I
whole
think we're
launch
all
angle
screwed
stuff.
up.
Why are we messing? Like they had reportedly, he changed things about his swing. One of the best players in baseball at the plate changed things about his swing. That's maniacally dumb to me.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see when everything's all said and done and we get end of the season interviews and stuff like that. That's probably where we'll hear more. But
Well, nobody's going to throw a coach under the bus.
no, at
Unless
least
they
while
fire
he's
him.
here.
Unless they fire him.
But to your point, now what this also
Right.
does, the top of the lineup offense becomes even more important when the bottom of the lineup gets a little bit rougher with Marshall.
And the bottom of the lineup has all the speed. Has great speed. But honestly, you got Realmuto who's still got speed. Turner's got speed. This is a fast club.
Still a good lineup.
But we don't steal bases. For whatever reason. Don't steal bases.
Too polite to. It's illegal.
See, that is great. Good job, Connor.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Well, Bob, wait a minute. You get my...
He hit me with a ball before this.
Oh, well, he did. That was a pretty cheap shot.
Yeah.
Support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, Pierce Phelps Bryant, heating and air conditioning dealers, and make a donation today to the American Association for Cancer Research. Thank you, Pierce Phelps Bryant. We appreciate you. Do it at 97.5thefanatic.com/AACR. 97.5thefanatic.com/AACR, because I am living proof that cancer research saves lives, and I'm hoping I'll be able to show it to you again. We are going to look forward to having a great Wednesday.